Welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith. In 1986, The Dark Knight Returns put the publishing world, the comic book publishing world, on its head and ass and changed the game forever. From that moment forward, some would say the modern age or the dark age of comics began. Frank Miller, who had been over at Marvel working on Daredevil, had gone to DC. I believe the first book he did was Ronin, and then which was greeted with some success, but not over the top success. Nobody saw this coming. His next project was going to be a Batman book. He'd worked on Daredevil at Marvel, which was a very street level vigilante, just like Batman to some degree. So it was a no brainer him jumping over to the Dark Knight, which at that point he wasn't referred to as the Dark Knight all the time. It was Batman. We were still living in a post Adam West Batman world in the 70s. Had continued to see a lighter Batman, maybe not so much the smiley Batman, but definitely not the Dark Knight that we'd all come to know and love from Frank Miller's work forward. DC puts out The Dark Knight Returns in a Baxter format book, which at that point was not that. It was a Baxter, maybe, or was a bookshelf, I forget. But at that point, the version of the book they'd put out, they hadn't done too many prior. Green Arrow, wait, what was it? It was Green, well, Longbow Hunters came after. Weren't too many that they'd published in this format. It was a kind of cardboard stock cover, felt different, felt stronger, felt more important somehow than the average comic book. Came out in 4 separate books and changed everything. I wasn't there when it came out. I wasn't buying comics in 1986. Oh no, I was too cool for school. I'd given up comics heading into high school because I was like, I'll never get pussy if I tell them I read comics. And I was not buying at that point. I missed the birth of the direct market shop. That happened in my absence. As I've talked about in the past, Walter Flanagan is the first guy that throws a copy of Dark Knight Returns into my hands. And this is circa 1988, I would say the spring of 1988. So the book's already been out for about 2 years at that point. And he only gave me this because I tried desperate to make conversation with this man I've been working with beside at the Highlands Recreation Center for 8 months, who'd never really spoken more than 10 words to me. I heard he liked comics, and I said, "Hey, I did a report on Batman once in high school." And he said, "Yeah," and that was it. And I said, "Yeah, I'll bring it in and let you read it." I don't think he was that interested, but I did bring it in. He took it home, read it, came back the next day, and gave me a copy of The Dark Knight Returns. He said, "You don't know shit about Batman. Read this." It opened my eyes, opened the door to my reinterest in comic books. Born again, baptized in flames, bat flames, if you will, to be really badly poetic. It was the book that would change everything, man. I was like, oh my God, if this is comic books, I'm back in a big bad way. I've read since then The Dark Knight Returns every year, probably 3 times a year. It's a perennial bathroom read, man. I keep it on a shelf nearby, so if it catches my eye and I got nothing else to read, boom, I could always grab that and dive back into the world of Batman. It's a book. When I try to write, I've always tried to emulate Miller's voiceover style for Batman, the inner life that he never really gets to display to everyone else around him, but you get to play in the head of Bruce Wayne, and that's something that Frank Miller did so damn well. Now, when I was looking at this book, man, and riding around, going to comic book shows with Walter Flanagan and stuff, you'd say stuff like, "Oh, wouldn't it be amazing if they made this as a movie? Why can't this be a movie? Oh my God!" And this is prior to us seeing the 1989 Tim Burton Batman movie, which did take things a bit darker and was a little closer to Frank Miller's Batman than any other previous Batman incarnation on screen had been. But at the same time, it was, you'd read Dark Knight Returns and just be like, oh man, could you imagine if you cast like Clint Eastwood as fucking Batman and you just made this movie just exact? Why can't they make it like this? Just do it on a straight up adaptation. It would be decades before we see Chris Nolan take the reins of the Batman franchise and deliver something pretty damn close 3 times out to the spirit, to the darkness, to the earnestness of The Dark Knight Returns. And he cribbed liberally for all 3 of his movies from Miller's seminal work, which he worked, of course, with Klaus Janson. Let's not forget him, and Lynn Varley. So at that point, particularly when you get to the Dark Knight Rises, and there are parallels straight out of the Dark Knight Returns, including a Batman who's been out of commission and unseen for nearly a decade. You figure that's it, man. Like that's maybe as close as we'll get for about 20 more years. And then someday in the future, when my bones are brittle and about to enter the grave, someone will finally do a Dark Knight Returns. It looks and feels and sounds like an adaptation of Frank Miller's work, the work that drew me back into Batman. What I've described to my wife in these terms, because I was watching something, I said, hey, oh, I love this so much. I was talking about the Dark Knight Returns. And she was, once again, like, I just don't get it. This is a boy thing. And I said, it's not a boy thing. And she was just like, why do you like this book so much? And I said, Dark Knight Returns, like Catcher in the Rye of comic books. It's just that book everyone owns and you have to have. And you can read it over and over again. And boy, it should be taught in schools. And it pisses a lot of fucking people off and stuff like that. And it's not so much the content. It's not so much the parallels. Bruce Wayne, I don't think would have troubles banging a hooker the way that young Holden Caulfield did. But, you're talking about characters that are isolated from everybody else. And we live in their inner thoughts, particularly in the fucking comic books. But it's really because of the stature of the book itself. In a very, very short time, The Dark Knight Returns became a work of literature respected by the establishment, if you will. One of the only comic books that pops up on best book lists and not necessarily just best comic book lists. That and The Watchmen were the first comic books or graphic novels to kind of be respected outside of the comic book community by other literary establishments or organizations. So it was a big fucking book, man. It's a big deal, this Dark Knight Returns. They made a movie. They did it as an animated feature over at DC. Warner Brothers animation unit been doing for a little while now these straight to DVD movies or Blu-ray movies that are, more grown up versions of the stuff that they've done historically on TV with Batman, the animated series, and the Justice League stuff. They get to go a little deeper, a little more PG-13. And there have been some really cool ones, man. The Wonder Woman one I was a big fan of. They've done Batman Year One, which I was a big fan of. And boy, did it look close to the Miller Mazzucchelli stuff. But they've gone forward now, and they've finally done what every fan in of The Dark Knight Returns has always hoped that they would do, a animated adaptation, man, that's so damn close to the book. You get giddy. I wept while watching it, man. And it was, for me, it's just a descent into a time machine of sorts, because suddenly it was 1986 and I was like, holy crap, man. And not so much that it reminded me just of the book, but it reminded me of closing the book and going, oh, I would love to see this movie. I did see this movie, at least the first part. The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1, they're breaking it up into a two-parter, is available right now. If you go to iTunes, you can download it. It's available on a lot of VOD sources, and I believe the Blu-ray and or DVD comes out this week. So we're going to take a look at The Dark Knight Returns, Part 1, and who better to do that with than a fella who has worked on both sides of the line that looks at comics and the line that entertains you with comic books. He's worked in TV, man. He's been all around. He's a good guy. We've had him on the Smod Coast Morning Show. Give it up for Mr. Mark Bernardin.
Hello.
This is the one we're gonna stress all your credentials so that nobody's just like, what the fuck's he got to do with Batman? But in a world where we're going to discuss The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, it's like, I didn't work on it. You didn't work on it. We're going to sit here and chit chat about it. But Mark's got fucking geek credentials, man. Don't you think he's a carpetbagger who's just like, oh, yes, I have seen a Batman feature or two. This guy, he's all comics. Whip your whip your geek dick out, Mark, and tell him show him what you got. Show him what you got.
The geek dick. Well, let's see. I wrote Static Shock for DC, for the New 52.
Come on.
What? I did The Authority for Wildstorm. I wrote The Highwayman for Wildstorm. I did a Wolverine one-shot for Marvel. X-Men's Origin Nightcrawler.
Didn't you do your own book, too? What was your book?
I did a book called Genius for Top Cow, a book called Monster Attack Network, a graphic novel. I worked for Entertainment Weekly for like 15 years, and
Covered a lot of comic books too.
I started at the comic coverage over there.
He was the guy. If you ever opened up Entertainment Weekly and you're like, holy shit, they're talking about a fucking comic book. You're looking at it. Well, you're not. You're hearing the guy. I'm looking at him. The guy who was responsible for that stuff, man. The guy who was just like, let's start covering this stuff.
Yeah, let's go to Comic-Con. Come on, magazine. Let's go to Comic-Con.
Fucking smart. Mark was the guy that pulled me into a panel the year, I guess, that Zach and Miri was coming out. I want to say, is it 2007 or 2008?
Yeah.
It was that Comic-Con, and it was Entertainment Weekly was sponsoring a panel called Visionaries.
Yeah.
And it was Judd Apatow, Zack Snyder, Frank Miller.
It all comes around.
And then I got to be on the panel too. He asked me. I was in particularly a weak year too, so it was nice to kind of go up there. But yes, you were at EW. Then after you left EW,
started freelancing around, wrote for GQ, wrote for Details, wrote for Wired, and then I got into TV and I wrote on the first season of Alphas,
which is a show about
superheroes.
Fucking come on, this dude's got credibility up the ass. Who better to talk to a fucking adaptation about The Dark Knight Returns with? Let's go there now. How big of a Batman fan are you? Would you consider yourself?
Well, I'll tell you. Like I was a Marvel kid growing up. Like I was because the X-Men.
I was too, though. I was a total Marvel zombie man. The Marvel handbook, the A to Z, that was my favorite comic book series. Like, because never mind watching them or reading somebody else's adventures, they gave you the character breakdown and all their abilities, so you could sit there and just make adventures.
Yeah, like it was perfect for a dude who played D&D. Like you just had all the fucking stats and the weaknesses and strengths and the armor and the aliases and everything. Like done. What?
With a gorgeous page of art from
Fantasy
usually
time.
a pretty damn important Marvel artist.
Yeah, but like Secret Wars was the first thing that I ever collected in earnest. Like those were my first 12 comics, and I had them all like tiled on my dresser so I could look at them when I walked by and like, hey, Beyonder, oh, it's a black costume for Spider-Man. The Hulk is holding up a mountain. This is the best thing ever. And the X-Men. I mean, the X-Men did for me what the X-Men does for everybody who's 12 and who doesn't feel like he quite fits in anywhere. It's the book
makes
for
you
outcasts.
gay.
It totally makes you gay.
It is. That's
what?
If you like Wolverine, you like Dick. Is that true? Yes.
So you know.
It is. That book is awesome for fucking outsiders. Always has been. Always will be. The movies, of course, made that point painfully fucking clear, and not in a bad way. I dig those movies, but like, boy, oh boy, man, every time they'd write about them, they'd be like, they're outcasts. They take shit, like just like certain fringe members of our society. Everybody,
Bobby, couldn't you not be a mutant?
yes, a little heavy-handed, but I always thought well done and kind of fun. But in the comics, first and foremost, that's where I wouldn't say they were necessarily gay seeds, but that's where those seeds of kind of like, hey, these characters are different. These characters are isolated. Most superheroes you think of as being accepted, motherfuckers hugging them and shit like that. X-Men, you didn't have that. That was a very powerful book, but fucking impenetrable back in the day, man.
Yeah, like you had to pick your entry point, and mine was the Hellfire Club.
Oh, so there you go. There's a nice
so
place.
I got in right before the whole Dark Phoenix stuff, and just carried it all the way through like most of the mid '80s to the mid '90s.
So all Claremont Burn,
and just soaked it all up. And the part where like Storm lost her powers and then had to challenge Cyclops for leadership of the team, and she went all punk and emo, and it's like, hey, it's a black chick kicking the shit out of Cyclops.
She had the hawk.
She had
total mohawk,
the white mohawk. Yeah.
So when do you go from Marvel, or do you go from Marvel? Am I jumping the gun? Am I filling in story? How do you go from Marvel to? Do you wind up being a DC or Batman fan?
It was a little bit of the Frank Miller, like because I was reading the Daredevil stuff, and then I bought Ronin because I had a direct market. Like I was still
Ronin's beautiful. But
Ronin's a beautiful. Yeah, it's a little distant. You know, like there's some great stuff in it, but it is there's a remove when you read it. But I had the direct market comic book shop, The Incredible Pulp, in the Baldwin, Long Island, which is no longer there.
That's where was it?
It was on the South Shore of Long Island in a town called Baldwin.
When did they die?
They died, I'm going to say like the late 90s, I think, when comics just imploded on everybody.
Right.
But it was there that I got my first like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Tick and the first comics where they were redoing, they were reprinting Lone Wolf and Cub with the Frank Miller covers.
Yes.
Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then I got like, hey, what's that? I like that dude, Batman.
You were there for when the book came out?
I was there for when the book
86?
dropped, yeah. And so I bought it, and then I bought it, and then I bought it, and then I read it, and then I read it, because that's what you did. And that's all you did. And that was sort of the way into Batman for me. Then I went back a little bit, not that far. Like
Right.
I never went quite so far back as like the Marshall Rogers, Jim Aparo stuff. Like I have a fondness for it, but I was never like, give me everything.
Right, right.
That's what I kind of like. But then like Son of the Demon was big. It's like, ooh, who's this bad guy? This bad guy's pretty fucking rad.
And a hardcover too.
And a hardcover and just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And then like I was at the perfect age when the Batman movie came out. Like I was
Tim Burton's 1989.
1989.
How old are you? I'm let me see. If it's June 23rd, 1989, I'm 18. I'm 2 months away from being 19.
I'm 17.
Okay.
So I'm graduating high school. And I skipped my senior prom to go see Batman.
Fuck out of here.
I did.
Oh, you win.
Well-
You win, dude. Really? I skipped my senior prom. I wish I had Batman to go to. I just skipped it to be a dick rebel, but you had a good reason.
I had a good
man.
reason. I mean, also, to be fair, my girlfriend at the time had the chicken pox. And so she bailed on me for the prom. So like I had the limo and the tux and the whole shebang. So I went, I took the pictures, and I got back in my car, and I went home. I changed, put my Batman t-shirt, met my boys in the movie theater, parking lot for like 3 hours before the midnight show, and boom, fucking Batman.
This qualifies you beyond qualification to take a peek with me at The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. That is fucking Batman, dude. What'd you think of the movie?
At the time, you could not have imagined,
Wasn't it amazing at the time?
because people like children today don't realize how starved we were for information for anything we loved in the 90s.
Think about it, 1989, man. Like maybe, they got the internet on some fucking smart kid's college campus somewhere. Maybe Al Gore is building it in 1989, but we didn't have, like, if you wanted to know information leading up to the release of Batman, remember the first image of him in the suit was in Daily News. The first image of Jack Nicholson's face, wearing the fucking prosthetic, was in the New York Post. That like they would put it wasn't even like leaking. It would just
that's what you did.
That's what you did. You had to like pick your organization, give them that, and if you saw it there, you were fucking lucky. If it got picked up in a magazine later on, great. If not, you hoped somebody maybe republished it in Starlog or a fucking fanzine or a homemade magazine. All the precursors of the internet, like fanzines, were essentially what a website is today. Like somebody just putting together their own little magazine of like, I like this shit. Here's this. Here's a review of this. Here's a picture of this. So if you didn't see that image of Batman, like I didn't see it in the Daily News. I was in a bookstore and somebody cut it out of the Daily News and pinned it to a board behind the desk because the anticipation started building almost a full year out. Like now, mind you, they make a Batman movie now. Whole fucking world knows who Batman is.
Right.
Leading up to 1989, Batman had been the Adam West TV show and the Super Friends. And in the comics world, of course, Frank Miller reinvented him, and he was always a symbol and a constant there. But suddenly, he was reborn as way cooler. The number one, he probably overtook Wolverine at that time. Wolverine was probably the number one comic book character, and then boom, Batman supplants him and stays at the top of the list forever. So go ahead.
Like I remember, I'm gonna say like late 1998, 1988, early 1989, when the trailer first broke on Entertainment Tonight, and
I watched it. Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, I taped
That's
it.
fucked up. That's
videotaped it.
Me too. That's a real like somewhere out there. You and I were beneath the same pale moonlight, dancing with the devil, watching that trailer on ET. That was it. That's the only place to see it.
And it wasn't even a whole trailer. It was like 20 seconds of footage.
Yes.
And like John Tesh is throwing to here the first look from the Batman movie, and you're like, oh my fucking god! Like the Batmobile with the guns, and he's shooting out the corrugated steel thing, and he's driving.
I loved that trailer because it was dry. Remember, there was no score.
There's no art
It
to
was
it.
nothing whatsoever. It was literally just a string of sequences kind of edited together.
Mhm.
There was the Warner Brothers logo, and then all of a sudden, I think there was a shot of him or something like that, and then it was right to like, is there a 6-foot bat in Gotham City? Vicky Vale, Bruce Wayne, and what do you do for a living? And then they cut to a shot of him launching, the PAF, the thing with a little hook in it, the grappling, and then yanking a dude off off one of the catwalks. So it was cut together with like sequences and no score, No
Yeah.
voiceover going like Batman
It
is
was
this
total like EPK. Like they just drop it in. What we got? 20 seconds. Roll.
haunting. And if you can see it, if you get, well, I mean, you can probably see it on YouTube. I'm always like telling kids, you can see it if you pick up the VHS of fucking this movie. But yeah, go to YouTube, go Batman 1989 trailer, teaser, and you'll see it. It was stark, man.
Yeah.
Totally stark.
And I just watched that thing blurry. You know, like you just rewind, play, and like VHS would degrade, and so then
You
you
start tracking that motherfucker on
Yeah,
the VCR. Please, if I can get a few more plays out of it.
you're looking at it through like the Sybil Shepherd gauze, where like it's just totally blurring out. Like I don't know what that is, but fuck it, it's Batman.
That large black space on the screen is the Batman. Oh, it was exciting. And then when the movie came out, like if you did honestly ticket sales from 1989's Batman, ticket sales from even The Dark Knight Rises, I think tickets, Batman 1989 may still have it. It was fucking massive. Like, you know, if you look at the number it did in 1989 and do the extrapolation to today's figures, it's fucking huge. And then worldwide, like it was bolstered by the fact that you know, a bunch of kids wanted to see it, of course, and a bunch of 20 somethings wanted to see it, but parents were okay to see it because they were like, oh, I used to watch Batman when I was a kid. And suddenly, you know, a lot of it's not your dad's Batman and shit like that. And it was so hard ass, which is funny now. But it was so dark and fucking like Batman's a badass. And that Batman would get his ass handed to him by the current movie day Batman. And both of them would be easily defeated by the Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, pretty much.
Batman. When you read Dark Knight Returns, who did you see? If you were like, oh, if they were ever going to make a movie, like I said before, I was Clint Eastwood.
You were Clint Eastwood. I was I think it was Lee Marvin.
Wow.
I think I went Lee Marvin.
That is a good fucking pull.
I went fucking old school.
I mean, in a world where where was he in the Big Red One?
Mm-hmm.
Not too long before he went.
Yeah,
could have pulled it off.
He totally could have pulled it off.
Who now in this day and age? If you're going to do a feature,
if you're going to do Dark Knight, you know what I want? I want 20 years from now, Christian Bale and Nolan to come back and do Dark Knight Returns.
Really?
Yeah.
Even Bale? You like Bale that much?
I mean,
with all due respect, he was a wonderful Batman, but he's never had the frame.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and believe me, I'm not saying like this dude's kicked my ass 8 ways a Sunday. He's very, very fucking strong and in shape, and he commits to putting himself in like in human shape, whether it's in these movies or that movie,
The Machinist.
Yeah, where he lost all that crazy amount of weight. But when you look at Frank Miller's Batman, you know, he's John Hamm size. You know what I'm saying? Like tall, stocky, probably got a big cock if you believe the trades or the rags.
It's a lot of ham.
Yeah, so much ham. John's ham. What who then? Who do you
today?
think?
I mean, it's tough because we don't build movie stars the way they used to build movie stars.
True.
You know, I mean, I can't. There's a reason why Tom Cruise and Johnny Depp are pretty much still starring in all of our movies, and they're 50 years old. You know, like we don't build the Paul Newmans and the Marlon Brandos and the Burt Reynoldses and the Steve McQueens and like the people you bought as just fucking men. They showed up and bam, that's a hunk of granite who I will totally trust to do whatever I need him to do.
For lack of a better description, when we were kids, they threw us Stallone, Schwarzenegger. These were
Van
fucking
Damme,
dudes.
like-
Well, I guess here, man. I mean, look, I'm not a big fan of the guy as documented, but you know who would be a really good fucking Dark Knight? Willis. If you were ever going to do the Dark Knight, I mean, he don't deserve it at all, but be honest, like when you think about, like I'm thinking about the whole Expendables cast,
Right.
Because you need somebody who's fucking 60 years old, do it right. Because in the age of CG, you can have somebody smaller doing the stunts and shit, but like for the acting, for the wearing the cowl, all the up close stuff, got to have an actor like who's I would say 60 or in that range. Can't be Schwarzenegger.
No.
Can't still to this day
All
can't
kinds
act.
of
And Batman can't be Austrian, and Batman never fucked Alfred. So you know what I'm saying? Didn't have a child with Alfred for many reasons. It couldn't be him. Stallone, no, he did Dread and did it wrong by taking the helmet off. So shame on you and punishment forever. So no for him. I mean, of the old guard, Willis.
Ironically, the person who would probably be best at it today is Clooney. Who ironically
I was going to say that. I was going to say, yeah. At one point, like, yeah, and but he's not. Look, him before Christian Bale, he's at least got a manlier kind of build. And again, I'm not saying Christian Bale's a wimp. Again, this dude would fucking destroy me. But I'm just saying, like, he needs a to me, it's got to have a bigger size. And as much as I like George Clooney, he should be even bigger than that.
He should be, but I buy George Clooney as a broken guy.
Yeah.
You know, like George Clooney's had enough back problems. He walks a little gingerly.
Right.
You know, like, well, you know who else would be rad?
Who?
Fucking Kurt Russell.
Good fucking call. All right. Yeah. And you know what? There's a motherfucker who deserves it. By all reports, a good guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And treats
act.
people well and can act.
And has the face. And like Stuntman
Hold
Mike.
on. I'm going to put my head on it. Yeah, and also like the interplay with Commissioner Gordon.
Mhm.
Like, I'm trying to think of Kurt Russell's dark voice. I guess Snake Plissken.
It's a little Snake Plissken. It's a little Stuntman Mike. It's a little.
You got my vote, dude. You know, I was almost in a Willis camp, and I don't like that man, but yeah, he may have it, dude. Wow, and again, a deserving. All right, but you know who did? They did cast voice wise. That's for a movie. You know who they cast voice wise in this? Peter Weller, RoboCop, doing the Dark Knight, and doing it justice, man. I liked.
It's not bad, but you know, like Kevin
Save
Conroy.
it. Listen, I know. All right. Well, you know what? What we'll do? Here's what we're gonna do. All right. You now know Mark's credentials. He's fucking too legit to quit. You know my credentials. This ain't a review because I don't believe in that sort of thing. But this is us discussing. We're just gonna essentially provide a commentary track for The Dark Knight Returns Part 1. Nobody asked us to, but we're going to do it anyway. Mark has seen it. You watched it once?
I did, yeah.
Since I bought it the other day, and I bought it on iTunes. You can buy it right now on iTunes. I'm sure it's available other ways as well, but that's how I did it. And it'll be on Blu-ray. I think it's coming out this week. Since I bought it on whatever day that was, I've watched it 4 times completely, and then I've gone and watched sequences over and over. I'm a big fan of the Two-Face Gotham Life attack, which in the comics, in the actual book, I was never a wild fan about. So I thought it was particularly well done. But in any event, what we're going to do is we're going to watch it. We're not going to play it, so you're not going to hear it. We'll be talking primarily over the whole thing. And we're not going to, every once in a while, it's going to be very screen specific. And we'll give you a start point so you can line yours up and watch along and whatnot. But, we're going to take flights of fancy, of course, and talk about what we're going to talk about. Not necessarily like, oh, this is happening right now and this is happening. Because I find that I've recorded a lot of commentary tracks. If you're trying to do that, there's long periods of silence. So we got the movie going to be playing to my right, to Mark's left, and we'll use it as a reference point. But generally, we're just going to keep the conversation going. Remember, this is us discussing it, dissecting it the way one does with absolute affection and whatnot. I'm trying to get away from calling it a review.
Unsanctioned by anybody.
All right, man, let's roll them up.
All right.
You got enough water?
I'm good.
Pour me some more. Okay. This is queued up. We're at 0 right now. The whole picture says about an hour and 16. So here we go. I'm pressing the space bar now. At the sound of the beep, press the space bar. Boop. We rolling. Okay. As you see the logo pop up, I thought this was kind of cool. They went very cinematic, man.
They totally
they
did.
started their soundtrack of the movie, not meaning the score, but the actual mix of the movie. The movie itself is starting under the titles. Very cinematic. You're hearing the sounds of the race, which if you're a reader of this book, I never knew it took place in Gotham. You think this is something they added?
I never knew either. Like I buy there being a sort of Monte Carlo sort of like Grand
The
Prix
Newman
race.
3000 or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Little nod to Paul Newman.
Like I buy that, but
They never, I don't think they indicated in the books like this race is done through Gotham. I thought this felt to me a little influenced by Iron Man 2. Remember the Monte Carlo race? But is that how Monte Carlo is raced every year through the city?
Right through the streets.
So then maybe that's not influenced by Iron Man 2 as much as the actual fucking race that someone better than me who's a little more well-rounded is far more aware actually happens. Okay, but I don't remember this being in there. But as I'm watching right about now is when it starts dawning on you, if you're somebody who knows the source material and quotes it religiously and lives by it like a Bible, lives usually like a Bible to live by, something is amiss.
This would be a good debt.
Oh my God. Right now,
Yeah.
particularly, I'm sitting there watching this going, oh my God, if he doesn't say it soon, they've already screwed the fucking pooch. And they didn't. They made a decision, apparently, early on, or it was their choice, kind of like what they did on year one, to go without the voiceover. Now, for me, The Dark Knight Returns is as much the imagery, as much the dialogue. It is that fucking voiceover. It's everybody's voiceover.
It totally is. I mean, it's what gets you inside his mind. It's what lets you know what makes Batman Batman. Is what's going on, the crazy shit rattling around in his brain.
Controversial choice, to say the least, to leave it out. It would take me probably another 6, 8 minutes before I'd settle in and go like, okay, let's move forward without it. Because I'm sitting there going, when's it going to kick in? Maybe it'll kick in when he turns into Batman or something like that. And there's one moment of voiceover when he actually does, when they're, when he has his kind of like coming up, when he has this come to Jesus conversation with the bat. And there's a bit of voiceover, but not the voiceover where you're like, this would be a good death.
Right.
Why do you think I wear a target on my chest?
Totally.
All that stuff. They found certain ways. I mean, look, this is what you do in movies. This cinematically, they're not doing anything differently than they've ever done with all those flicks. None of those flicks have ever included Batman's voiceover or anything like that.
No, but it's a slightly weird choice because so much of the rest of this is completely adherent to the original text.
It's slavishly almost.
It's so respectful of the story as it exists on the page. It's so, just incredibly just it's giving over to that. To not include that part was like okay. I mean, that's a way to go.
Do you think the director, I think the director's name is Jay Oliva. Do you think it was the director's choice? Like, hey man, I'm going to do it cinematically, and the voiceover doesn't look. I'll spoil it now and tell you. I got to the end. I've watched it so many times. Obviously, I can do it without the voiceover.
Right.
That's a bold choice, and I don't know. I'm not going to say like, hey, fucking stupid choice. It's a choice, and as a filmmaker, I'm definitely like, hey man, whatever. You kept everything else is fucking gold, and the action's fantastic, and it adheres very close, as Mark said. So I'm not going to bitch. I will say this though, some future release, perhaps a voiceover track. You know what I'm saying? Just have him come and do that. I mean,
drop it in.
Do you think they recorded it? Do you think they ever recorded it and then opted not to use it?
It's entirely possible. I mean, Bruce Timm was an executive producer who, of course, goes way, 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 way back with Batman. And so I got to think they had those conversations. I got to think there was the sit down of, right, what do we do about this? How do we do about that? How are we going to treat this? And they must have made a call. They must have made a decision.
I know they tried like on Brave and Bold, on Batman Brave and Bold. The first few episodes, they had him doing an internal monologue, almost journalizing.
Right.
And maybe it's just an animated form, maybe in any form, to be honest with you. They've done it in movies, some voiceover in movies.
They have, but
maybe
you can count on one hand the amount of times it works really well.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's one of these devices that it's like onomatopoeia. It looks fantastic on the page, big sounds and shit like that. But nobody. If you said blam in real life, fucking shit falls apart. So maybe it was a case of like, look, we've tried it, and trust me, nobody as you look at this, it's made with love by people who obviously are looking at detail very closely and trying to get it fucking right.
Right.
So I imagine they went through a process and maybe got down the road with some voiceover. Like right now, as you're looking at the sequence of Bruce Wayne walking down, dark Gotham streets. Come on, man. Like in the book itself, it's an orgy of fucking voiceover, of him talking, thinking to himself and blah, blah, blah. As we slowly figure out, as he figures out and we figure out with him, he's going to pull the cowl back on. He can't stand it anymore.
Right.
So even in moments like this particular, I thought it was kind of what a weird choice. But I mean, again, it feels like maybe they're like, look, we're going to go more cinematically than you would, fucking one camera dude who never moves the frame. So get off our dick. We're trying to tell a story with pictures, and it's a cartoon, for Christ's sakes.
And the animated series didn't have the voiceover either.
That's true. Never.
So like if you're gonna bookend the animated series, like this is the last chapter of that story,
right?
Then it should feel like it's always felt.
It's I will say controversial to say the least. I haven't checked in online I can't imagine. I've seen a few people on my Twitter feed go, "You don't miss the voiceover," but overall, 98% people are just fucking skeet. They're digging.
Right.
But and this dude right here, the slice and dice guys. Honestly, like, and no disrespect to the people doing the voices, but like, hey, get someone with some balls. Like this one guy's like slice and dice, and it sounded like, come on, man. I wouldn't be afraid of that. I'd be like, you sound like a fucking Scooby Doo stock character to me.
Yeah,
Just get like, I honestly like grab someone. We're in Los Angeles, man.
Mm-hmm.
You just go out, find like some street person, be like, come here.
We'll $30, slice and dice.
Fuck that. Here's 200. Say slice and dice. You change his life, and you would get a fucking performance that would chill you to the bone. The audience would be like, that sounds like a real homeless guy. And then while you would do impression, you'd be like, it is a real homeless guy. Done. Because you know why? The guy who made Clerks didn't think the other guy's voice was real enough. It was fine, but as I was listening to it, I was like, come on, man. Like, that wouldn't chill me.
Yeah. And some of that, like, future syntax didn't age as well as I'm sure they hoped it would.
Come on. Billy, Mark Billy Berserk, man.
Mark don't shiv.
What? I always chug that up to, like, that was their little pocket of, you're right. It never came in fruition. Nobody shivs anything unless you're in prison.
Yes.
But for me, I'm so glad they included it because it'd be one of those things where you'd be like, oh, they didn't do fucking Billy Berserk. Like one of the lines I can't fucking wait. It'll be in the next part is Robin going Ace the Cloak when she reprograms the fucking shit like that. Oh, I can't wait. Sequences like that, man. I cannot fucking wait for. Maybe I think, look, number one, I'm disappointed there's no voiceover because Miller's voiceover for Dark Knight Returns is fantastic. It's like Mickey Spillane, man, with a cape on it. It defines Batman for me. That being said, it would have been even sweeter to hear it coming through Peter Weller's voice. I think Peter Weller did a fucking tits job.
He really did. Like I was there was a little too much Murphy going on in my head when I first started listening to it. But then, like, oh, the mustache is gone. The porn stash. I've shaved off the porn stash.
For facials. This shit doesn't play in the 80s, Alfred. They kept the 80s feel to it. Like at one point, as he was walking down that dark street and whatnot, the fucking the mutants are all breakdancing to a large boombox. Nobody's got small sounds, man.
No, not at all.
It's all big. Miller didn't anticipate the iPod
in front of the store of TVs. Store of TVs.
At what stores? He didn't anticipate Amazon. Our first look at Miller's Joker, man, which pretty close to what they did in the book. Dr. Wolper, one of my favorite incidental characters of the DC universe, the guy who's just so wrong on every account. I popped him into my where was it? At the Widening Gyre. He pops up in the issue 6, a little cameo, and somebody caught it. They're like, "Is that fucking Dark Knight's Wolper?" This Joker, which we don't hear much of, he has spoilers. And if you haven't watched this before, you're listening to our commentary track. We didn't even fucking make it. How dare you?
So this book is 30 years old at this point.
Yeah. If you get to the end, man, the Joker, finally speaks and says, "Batman, darling," and the Joker is going to be played this time by Michael Emerson. Is that his name?
Oh yeah.
Now this is the dude. If the name doesn't ring a bell because it didn't for me, I was like, who the fuck did they grab to play it? I don't know. Peter Weller, I know. Who's Michael Emerson? And then when I entered it in Google, I said, "Oh, I know this motherfucker."
Ben Linus.
It's Ben Linus, man, from Lost. You've seen him. He was on another
Person of Interest.
That's it. Person of Interest,
which is Batman.
Is
that
it really?
show is basically Batman.
Explain.
It's all about the Ben Linus plays. Michael Emerson plays a guy who used to work for the government who built some crazy ass machine that analyzed like social security numbers and patterns and whatever the fuck. It finds out people who will be involved in violent crimes, either the victims or the perpetrators. And so he takes this tech from the government and he's got a shit ton of money and he finds this like old war veteran mercenary dude played by Jesus, Jim Caviezel, whatever.
Okay.
And so he pays him to be basically a vigilante. He's like the Alfred / Commissioner Gordon who sends Jesus out to fight crime every week.
Does he wear anything or no?
Nah, just a dude, a guy with a blazer.
I like it.
You know, like it kind of holds together, but it's fucking Ben Linus and Jesus fighting crime.
Somebody, there's a focus group somewhere that's like, I like Christianity and I loved Lost, so this show rocks.
Yeah. CBS bringing you Jesus and Batman.
By the ladle, by the chalice full. Right now, back in the world of The Dark Knight Returns, Bruce is just about had enough. This is one of these devices, look, on the page, you get to do it, lay it out a little differently. Here in the movie, they use this kind of TV channel thing and take it a lot further. At one point, he's watching himself. And in the book, of course, this is chock-a-block full of fucking voiceover.
Right. And information, and it had that like great 16-panel grid of him standing and the pearls dropping and the puddles and
here though, again, they're going a bit more cinematically, and this ain't me making excuses for it. This is a choice they made. I would have been way more fucking, devoted to the text. Again, they probably have a better reason for letting it go. They probably tried it and they were just like, dude, it sucked. Like it should work, but it doesn't. So rather than fucking throw the baby out the bathwater, we just got rid of that part.
Yeah, see the windows of the 16-panel grid.
There it is. And this shot right here of him knocking down the statue is straight out of the fucking book as well. There's a panel. There's so many panels, so many sequences that are panels straight out of Dark Knight Returns. But
like, they sort of suffer from me because on the page, the wonderful alchemy of comics is that as a reader, you're an active participant in it. You're filling in the blanks, and you're also controlling the pace. And so those panels that that mean a lot to you, those panels that register full page splashes that Miller's saying, focus on this, focus on him diving out of the sky, focus on
with
him.
One line of voiceover,
right?
Over
like a baptism. My chest burns. It feels like fire. Like all of that shit. You can relish in it and wallow in it and soak it up. But here, it's a measured pace. They're telling you how long you have to spend.
Moving on, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And it just, for me, it not that it's. I mean, it's a choice. It's what you have to do when you're making a movie versus a book. But like, it loses a little something for me there.
Here's my question. Do you think anyone, next time they do Batman, either break new ground with the killing of the parents, and I don't mean break new grounds as like invent new shit, but like do it in a way that I haven't seen it done, is stop with the fucking pearls.
Right.
Frank Miller invented the pearl thing, man. It all starts with him. Let's end it now. Yeah. We've had it for so long. Some other way cinematically of expressing this whole like moment.
Not for nothing. We don't need that origin anymore.
I know, we know this. Everybody fucking knows
like
this.
At this point, it's American DNA. It's global DNA. What happened to Batman? Right, parents got killed. Crime.
This was chilling, I thought, because this lady reminded me of my mom. Not so much in the comics, but definitely here. But the voiceover, I thought this voiceover dude was really good. I didn't say he scared me, but he was pretty tight. Like if I heard that voice behind me,
right,
where he's like, "Hey, mommy," oh, that was fucking nasty. This sequence, do you remember this at all?
Sort of, kind of.
I don't remember the line about he talks about she got another nostril at a certain point. And I don't remember him ripping up the money.
I remember that.
So then this definitely was in there. This is Batman, of course, Batman's first night back, man. And in the book, it builds panel by panel, page by page. And you have the benefit of his voiceover. And also Miller is constantly cutting back and forth with news reports, and they do it pretty damn well here in the flick in terms of the news reports and whatnot. Everything looks I love that fucking shot. He's just literally punching that fucking dude in the head on top of a cab. There's a few moments in this one, more so than any of the others, where they just show him just beating ass.
Yeah.
And you're just like, beat ass, Batman, beat evil's ass hard.
I will say, though, that Gotham does not seem to be favorable to its African-American residents.
Do tell. Speak up. Advocate, sir.
So far, that was our first vision of a black dude.
Is that the first one?
That's the first one, who's a pimp. Next one, we see one of the punks in one of the three punks in the house where Batman, there are 8.
Holding a kid?
Yeah. Well, no, where he chases them through when they, like the cop chase and the bank robbery, the tail end of the bank robbery.
Right.
You know, the great, there are 8 working defenses from this position.
Yes.
4 of them disarm with minimal contact. 3 of them kill. 1 of them hurts.
Oh, God. See?
You know, like, but so then that's your second black dude as a criminal. And then the next one is a barely coherent, like talking head on some new, I love Batman. What's the best part about Batman? It's awesome. Say, Jim, that's a bad outfit.
Oh, good Lord.
It's like, like, dear Warner Brothers, you had a chance to kind of fix a little of that.
What do you think would have happened if they did? There'd be an outcry of like, why would you fuck with the classic? Did you see what they did about the little girl in the fucking Hunger Games?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That's a sick world. Oh, right there, dude.
Nice.
There's a nice shot where Batman looks back. There's a moment between him and Carrie Kelly before the flashlight disappears. When I saw that the first time, I got fucking chills. And when I rewatched it with my wife, I start crying. I clutch her shoulder. I was standing over her, and she looks up at me. She's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was just like, "That's the first. Like, they're gonna be friends. Like, they're gonna work together. They're gonna fucking end the mutants. They're gonna clean up Gotham. Stop the fucking Joker. Like,
they're gonna cry when his heart stops.
Yes, they're gonna do so much together, and that's the first moment that they fucking like they make eye contact. He has this fateful moment where he looks back, and even he don't know. Even as clever as fucking Batman is, he doesn't know that that little girl is gonna become Robin.
Right.
That's fucking touching. This moment here, everyone talks about online and whatnot because they did it in the Dark Knight Rises as well.
You're in for a show.
Oh, they borrowed the line of "You're in for a show, kid," with the older cop. I forgot. I do like. Oh, there it is. They took the cover shot of fucking Dark Knight. There's so many fucking tits moments in this movie, man, that they nail so fucking right. It does look like it was the Frank Miller characters put slightly through a Bruce Timmyon prison.
Right.
All the stock characters who aren't our main leads look a little more in the style of Tim than flat out Frank Miller. The whole thing makes me wonder what they're going to do for the next half with that fucking woman with the swastikas on her tits. How do you handle that?
I don't know.
Because, you know, they get away with some shit here, man. But like,
second black dude.
There it is. And he knows, though. At least he's portrayed as like he knows it's the Batman.
Right. And he's the smartest of the criminals.
Warner Brothers somewhere is going, there. Doesn't that count?
It's an upwardly mobile criminal enterprise.
Oh. That I felt like I loved his delivery, but I felt like the animation of the line was bigger than the line reading he gave.
Right.
And I personally, if I was in the room, I would have asked for another take with it louder, like he was yelling it.
There is no bigger. You can go as big as you want here.
Yeah, totally, right?
He's better, bud. What?
He's better, bud. Well, there's a moment where he's in pain. He's getting his, like, spoilers later on, he's getting his ass beat by the mutant leader. And he yells out, "Oh!" And it sounds like Murphy getting, you can't help it. You're like, that's RoboCop, man. This is awesome. The weakness, you get to see older Bruce Wayne and how it's, you know, he's not quite the spring chicken he used to be, and he's taken 10 years off. But this is some of the best stuff in the book as he's born again. Here in the movie, it's totally, I like it. They did a nice job, but this isn't my favorite stuff.
No.
I would have preferred voiceover. I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep ringing the same bell, and again, I'm gonna go out there and say, like, I fucking love this. I love it. It makes me happy. It's made me fucking cry. My wife at one point, she said yesterday, she goes, "I'm so happy you found something you like so much." And I was like, "Oh my God, I love it so much." But that all being said, yeah, man, I've got some opinions.
Yes.
My opinion is this fucking whole sequence would have been improved with voiceover. I mean, honestly, this sequence to me felt a little too long. I'm like, I don't care about this gang. Like, move the fuck on. But
I mean, because you want the feel of Batman hunting these guys, and you don't quite get it.
Yeah. Or it's just honestly like it's a pacing thing for me. I'm like, this sequence. We're spending way too much time with these fucking three criminals. This, felt like this sequence could have been half as probably short. And they got to reach a certain point. It's got to be like 75 minutes, I think, to count as a feature. So maybe they're like, look, this is one of these sequences where we're going to go cinematic. Again, all this criticism or points come from a dude who's like, I would never spend this much time doing something visual. We could be filling all this space with lovely words, man.
Words.
But in this case, the voiceover, I don't know, man. I gotta, somebody should do a test. Oh, yeah. But jump on his I love this. Listen to the crunch, bitch. Listen.
He'll walk again.
Just breaking his fucking back. This dude's horrified.
He's young.
Weller's, but you'll be scared, won't you, punk? Weller's gravitas is really, really fucking nice for this. I interviewed him on stage after a screening of Buckaroo Banzai. You could hear it over on Smoothie Makers, that podcast I do. And at one point, somebody fell asleep in the audience, and he's in the middle of telling the story. And the dude's a genius, right? You know this. He's like
a
PhD, fucking like a scholar, a true genius. Not like his work's genius. He is a genius. He's had this whole other life that's not acting. Acting, by comparison, fairly trivial to like the shit this dude's accomplished. Thinking man. So he's sitting there fucking talking, and all of a sudden, in the middle of it, he goes, "Hey, this guy up front is sleeping." And he just calls him out. He's like, "Hey, buddy." It was kind of weird. I was like, man, you just got fucking called out by RoboCop. So there it is, man. The first night out, Batman. Well done. A little long for my taste, but it was. I remember reading those pages as a kid and just being like spellbound. This was fantastic, and I also didn't know some shit. Like that was the fun of Dark Knight Returns for me, getting back into it since this was my access point back into comics. My primary experience, Batman being the TV show, I don't know who fucking Harvey Dent was.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so suddenly people are like, both of his sides look the same. I was like, what's that? So
shit.
I had to go look up shit, and I was like, Two-Face? Who's this? Why do you think that character never made it onto the Batman TV show? Like you had your Riddler, your Catwoman, your Joker. You have all the big baddies, and Two-Face, arguably one of the biggest because he's tied to young Batman.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is maybe it was a little too like nobody else is scarred on that show.
Yeah.
Like there's a sense of intensity to Two-Face that I'm not even sure you could candy coat on that show.
That's true. How do you explain that to a kid?
Yeah, I think fire, acid, whatever. But
unless he had like half a mask on his face or something like that.
But then it's just weird. But then again, you get King Tut, so who gives a shit? They were willing to go.
Who came first, King Tut or Maxie Zeus, do you think? I think it was King Tut, actually. So. And then I think the comics followed, said, hey, let's do our version of King Tut.
Right.
But they didn't own the rights, so they're like, we'll do Maxie Zeus. Same fucking character. I get hit on the head, and I believe I'm this other ancient figure.
Right.
One's Egyptian, the other is...
And I will build a palace and have a queen and blah, blah,
Greek.
Blah. Yes, Greek.
Yeah. That's how they didn't get sued. Kevin Conroy, of course, most folks will always think of as the Batman, the voice of the Batman. And I'm definitely, there's part of me that's just like, man, it would have been this being the ultimate Batman epic. Why the fuck didn't they go to him first? But, you could see like in later years, they're trying to try other people, move in other directions. They're like, can't just always be Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill. You can hear some exec somewhere fucking saying. But in terms of going in a different direction, I thought this was well cast. I thought David Selby as Commissioner Gordon was
he's great,
fantastic.
How old is Alfred supposed to be here?
I've always been confused about that. If Bruce himself is, what do you put him at, 50 or 60?
50s, I think.
Okay, so let's put him at 55. Alfred's got to be 85. He has to be 30 years older than young Bruce, right?
I guess, but didn't he serve the Wayne family for longer before Bruce was born? Like, so
maybe even older?
Like, you'd think he's got to be like 98, 99, like still ironing shit and mending wounds and
it's like
massaging.
Why not get a butler for the butler? You know what I'm saying? Like, how about you just treat me like your partner now? Yeah. I've been fucking pampering your ass for years, dude.
50 fucking years. Do I get a promotion? What? Where's my retirement benefit?
Have you ever heard of fucking arthritis? And you have me ironing things. Like, come on. I understand. Well, I guess the idea would be like they can't let other people in the house. Oh, this is awesome. This is out of the book too, where it's just like you're bleeding to death.
You know what would have been rad? I mean, as much as I like the girl that they got to play Carrie Kelly, Ariel from
she's from Modern Family.
Wouldn't Nancy Allen have been awesome? Like Peter Weller and Nancy Allen.
Well, why not? I'll give you Nancy Allen as Ellen Yindel, but not as Carrie Kelly. You need a kid. I don't know who this kid is. I've never seen Modern Family, but if you had Nancy Allen.
But Yardley Smith, who's been playing Bart Simpson for 87 years.
It's true. I was being a little too literal. And also, I've sat across from Tara Strong, who's like she's a fucking 20-something-year-old woman, and she could turn on a
kid voice.
Any age, dude, and any gender. It was fucking nuts. It was like sitting across from someone who was possessed. It was like being in like a sweet version of The Exorcist, actually, where nobody was doing anything nasty with a crucifix.
Adorable.
Kind of sweet. And she could suddenly be Timmy Turner. She could suddenly be a little girl. She could suddenly be a pony. This is awesome. That gave me chills too when she lights up when she sees the bat signal. Could you imagine this world? Somebody said the recent issue of Batman, like Batman issue 0 or whatever, they turn on the bat signal for the first time in the new Batman 52. Continuity 52. So I got to look into that. This they get some nice interplay here with Batman and the cape and cowl and talking with Commissioner Gordon, because the last time they were, first time we saw them talking together was Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon, but now he's back in the fucking cowl. And this is classic Batman shit right here. Being on a rooftop under the bat signal,
talking to Commissioner Gordon.
Look how big he is, dude. That could never be Christian Bale. You know what I'm saying? I mean, unless Christian Bale becomes like a barrel-chested fucking hunk of a meaty man. And look, he's bigger than Commissioner Gordon, whereas in the Batman movie, Christian Bale's like, he's shorter than Harvey Dent.
Yeah. You need Chris Hemsworth at this point. You need some giant fucking slab of Australian.
That image is right off of the book as well. Dr. Wolper returns. Do you think they'll wind up doing the Letterman host, or it'll just be random TV host?
I think they're going to go Letterman. I mean, it all feels so.
Do you think they'll wind up doing Reagan as the president and all the cutaways in the book as
Superman?
You know what I'm saying?
Superman. Yeah. Spoiler again.
And if you haven't, how dare you?
Come on.
Once again, we cut back to the Joker. Now, in books 1 and 2, they're saving Joker for the movie for all the second half, because in book 1 and 2, he's already awake and active by the end of book 2,
right? Meeting with
the dude who becomes a henchman. I imagine they're doing some shifting and moving that to the second half. This is my favorite sequence in the whole flick. I think it's so fucking cinematic. And the score, I want to give a shout out to the score. They tried to go in a Hans Zimmer direction with it, and I think they succeeded. This score, particularly for the helicopter sequence and the Gotham Life sequence, fantastic. But I think they did a really, really nice job. It's way more subtle and kind of Dark Nolan-esque or Zimmer-esque, for lack of a better description. This whole sequence, though, like, remember in the book, he's like sitting there talking about, like, I checked my belt. They play it. He sits there and he checks his belt, and then he cracks his neck and moves his legs or something. And in the book, he says it in the voiceover. He's just like, I checked my belt for like about 14th time, move my legs to keep them, awake, and crack my neck or something like that. So, they just wind up doing it cinematically and eliminating the voiceover. But as a purist, you know what I'm saying? You'd think, but again, you think it'd be nice to hear, but maybe it doesn't work. This was a change that they made, which I think is kind of weird. This played out pretty much like this in The Dark Knight Returns in the book itself. Maybe not this shot so much.
Random people.
Yeah, or this shot either. But there was how it concludes. Harvey says that he requests a ransom of $22 million. And then the score kicks in. It's pretty tense. Bam, 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 bam. And I thought the score is also a little John Carpenter-esque. If you know the score to Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it has a real flavor to it.
As we all do.
That used to be my makeout score, man. I put on that record and get to second and third base.
Hey, girl.
I wish I'd had that move. Hey, girl. This sequence, it continues to be a riveting sequence right here. Watch Batman come out. Bam! Oh, come on. That's there.
All the shadow Batman stuff.
This is fantastic. Every time a gunshot goes off, you see them behind the. This is where you're like, oh, fuck. Look what you could do with a movie, with a cartoon. Look at these moving images. Like this, definitely better. I'm not better, but boy, it's visceral.
Right. Like
they
totally
leaps off the page. Whereas like the stuff where he's hunting the 3 dudes, not nearly as much. But this sequence has also changed as well. They didn't do this.
Yeah. What?
And he talks to this guy. That doesn't happen in the book at all. I was watching it, I was sitting there going, that's fucked up, man. He's having a pretty casual conversation
But
with
why
this
does
guy.
that dude see the demon bat? Like, is the gas supposed to
He
be?
explains to us in the voiceover in the book, Batman said like there's something in these canisters that'll give them their worst nightmares. So they have to communicate all that, and he does it with this guy.
Right.
So and this doesn't happen. He doesn't say, how do I disarm it or anything like that. That's kind of been added because the voiceover is lost. But I do like this part where he's like, he wants to die and take thousands with him. That's kind of, and he drops him. Not sure. Fuck you. I'm done with you.
No time for you.
And there he's got a USB plug, and suddenly we're fucking saved. Who knew, man? He went to Radio Shack and beat fucking Two-Face. In the book, oh, this is awesome. Come on.
This is one of my favorite panels from the book.
Right?
Like the
Batman with a rifle.
Boom.
And look at him. Like, that's something, like, I remember reading the book going, like, Batman with a gun. What the fuck's he going to do? And he's carrying it, and he never says what it's for. And then it's this sequence. And in the book, he talks about, like, I have a 50-50 shot on which rooftop Harvey's going to land. And then Harvey lands on the other rooftop, and he's like, damn, chose wrong. So that's what the tightrope is for. And a lot of people would be like, why doesn't he just use the bat rope? It's way too far apart. There, we could hear the voiceover of him going like, why do you think I put a target on my chest? I can't armor my head. But they opted to go without. Here, we would go with, I'm tempted to let him fall, but I must know, Harvey. I need to know. So again, they went cinematically and they lose all that stuff, but still the sequence sings. It's fantastic. This could work in a movie. Better than some action sequences I've seen in some fucking Batman movie. This is awesome too, right there, man. Him dodging the bullet. You didn't do that in the comics. This is kind of tits. And just him jumping around. Bam! He just comes out of fucking nowhere. And once again, one of these times you get punch this dude in the fucking face. Bam! Oh, I love that shit, man. Could you imagine being so morally fucking right and strong that you're just like, you're wrong. Bam! You just punch people in the fucking mush and they can't do anything back.
Now, vengeance and furious anger. Boom, 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 boom.
Now, this moment I remember reading the books and being like, well, because I wasn't a Two-Face. I didn't know all the history. But that's how Two-Face sees himself. They do a really nice job right here in the next shot of kind of communicating that, because as he's telling us right now, like, this is how everyone sees us. They push in on Batman. And that's what I thought that was cool, man. That's like what Two-Face would look like if he was one face.
And it gets across the whole futility of Batman's mission. The fact that, like, his quest to redeem things, his quest to change things is ultimately never going to come to fruition. So, like, everything he did for this dude, like, I paid for your surgery, I paid for your therapy, and you're still broken.
And they altered this line at the end, too. Like, in the line, in the book, I think he says, I see a reflection, Harvey. And here he's just like, you and me both, or something like that. Little alterations, but again, like, this is nitpicking because they got so much fucking right. And you imagine they made these choices not arbitrarily.
No.
Or there's some fucking idiot exec who doesn't understand The Dark Knight Returns, just like, oh, who wants that? Take it out. But I imagine that they fucking ran it through the gauntlet and they were just like, dude, I'm with you. I want to hear him say it of rain and the baptism. Look at that, man. They have comic book covers from the same fucking
Swamp
year.
Thing, Watchmen.
Now, I wanted to go back and look, but I know they didn't put that in the fucking comic book. This is a little not an homage, if you will. But that's Alan Moore Swamp Thing material. And I think Watchmen's on there. All the books that were out in 86. It's so cool. I saw that and I had to pause. We get to see a better view coming up. And this opened, I think, book 2. This Crisis, bitch, and Sandman. They're a little early with that Sandman. That didn't come out till 88, I'd say.
Well played.
And this V for Vendetta. And this was something that they were a little more cinematic here than they were in the actual comic book. And in the comic book, we would have heard, if they were doing the voiceover, you would have heard him say, like, I think of Sarah and the rest is easy.
I gotta say, I could have done with like 10% less newscast stuff.
They got it right though. They got it right. Damn close to what it is, but in favor of something else. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it just like on the page again, because you control the pacing, you can skim that stuff if you want to. But now
especially on future reads. Like once you read it, you could skip it.
Like, blah, 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 talk show.
Here's something they didn't do either, and if I don't remember that being in the book. It says Robin costume,
Right.
like she went out and bought a Robin costume.
Third black guy who not a criminal.
He's just happy to have Batman on his side.
Yeah, but a little too, J.J. Walker for my likes.
Well, maybe they're like, we got to make it 1986 authentic, man. And in 1986, everyone talked like this.
You get Carlton maybe from Fresh Prince of Will Smith.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of time spent on the news, but and in moments like this too, you realize like, oh, we are not exactly Miller-esque in style.
Yeah,
because they don't look like. I think it might also been easier to do those Miller characters in the book because they're visually interesting, and fun to look at and stuff. The stoner parents they kept, I thought that was kind of funny.
You'd have thought she'd have not done the booties. I mean, if you're gonna be walking on ledges and shit, maybe the Peter Pan booties weren't the best choice.
This whole sequence too is straight out the book. I mean, it's done with a lot of voiceover, of course, but you're as faithful as fuck. And I don't know, I got real emotional watching this stuff. Maybe it's because I have a 13-year-old kid, or maybe it's just because you're like, nobody wants to help this guy. You know what I'm saying? Like he comes back out of fucking retirement. Everyone knows he's got to be older. Like even a fucking dude, like when he's hunting those dudes, he's like, Batman would have to be an old man now. Like everyone knows he could use some fucking help. Ain't nobody jumping back into the ring except this little girl. Who, Batman saved my life. And suddenly she's like, all right, I'm going to put on a suit. I'm going to be Robin. And winds up being Robin, not getting killed. Yeah. Come on, man. Oh, that's lucky right there. There's another change coming up from the book. And you tell me if you remember this correctly. Do you remember what happens in this sequence in the book? The lady's like, believe me, I'll kill him.
Nah, not really.
The way it reads in the book, dude, because there ain't no rubber bullets going on in this. In the book, it reads like he fucking blows her away. Because there's a shot of Batman holding this massive. That is straight out the book, dude. Fap. The dude just sitting there launching his gun. But when Batman takes out, well, first the big guy takes out the thin guy because he goes by the window because a bat comes through any second now. Spoilers. There it is. Chases my man toward the window. Big dude, fat dude. The Kev Smith of the scene is like, I'm going to fucking shoot you. And then, boom. Uh-oh.
Batarang.
Oh, shit. So he knows that behind him is probably Batman. So he takes out his buddy. Batman, of course, will probably punch through the wall to grab this fucking hoodlum. Show him a thing or two. Bam, bam. This dude's slowest reaction time on the planet.
What the wall
Look at he's got that fucking gun. Now, he blows the gun out of her hand here. Padink, and then hits her with the rifle.
Yeah.
And he says, different. I believe you. I love this shot right here. The baby being held close to the bat symbol.
Suck the bat nipple.
I believe not. This ain't no Joe Schumacher production. There ain't no bat nipples there. But he says, I believe you. I think if you go to the Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, yeah. There's the shot with the gun right down on
I think he fucking blows her away. Yeah. And I think, a lot of people are like, he would never use a gun. Batman in the defense of another life. I don't know. But it's one of those things where I watched this and I was like, is that how it happened? And I went back to the source material and I was like, oh shit. But then as I'm reading it, I'm like, I can't say for 100% that he kills the woman with the gun in Dark Knight Returns. But somebody take a peek. This is one of my favorite sequences from the book. And they do him doing the voiceover. Right now, his hand is covering this culprit's eyes and he's dangling him above Gotham. But if they left the voiceover in, it would have had that awesome line where he's like, it was a lot of work dragging 200 pounds of sociopath, up 20 stories. He goes, the scream alone made it worth it. Like just insights into his thought process and
that he's delighting in this.
Yeah. Like he's just like, there's a reason I do this. I fucking dig it. He's like, I dig hearing this dude fucking scream for his life. I don't remember this. Well, here they get to play it out, I think, a little bit more. This sequence, but this is so you could be more cinematic with the dude following, cut to this one,
right? And
spoilers, man, don't worry, they're gonna get saved. Robin gonna pop out of a side alley like any old second now.
It's all good.
But once again, this is but they in the book maybe it was like, remember one sequence where she ran up on someone playing 3-card Monte and lit a fucking firecracker in their pocket and runs away? They
Sort of like
skipped that.
the petulant kid stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this felt a little more built up. I don't remember this being in the book so much, in the actual book. So maybe they went with another choice. This too, in the sequence with the army general.
Like this was just a page in the book, right?
And what it was is they would have him as a talking head during the news reports. But then, yeah, it was just a page. And spoilers, the page is him dead in Batman's arms, draped in a flag.
Yeah.
So here instead they go cinematic and tell the story. Why? Because all the voiceover contains him going military grade hardware these mutants have, blah, blah, blah. So instead of being able to do that, the guys are going, all right, well, let's do it more cinematically. Well, some expository information was going to be lost in getting rid of all the voiceover. The voiceover isn't just there to be like, boy, Batman sounds cool. It's there to also provide some information. And if you're losing it wholesale, you got to provide the information elsewhere. So it looks like they built this scene to kind of provide a bunch of information.
Right. And show that it's super easy for Batman to get on a military base.
Which is I'll always take that. That's fucking cool. The unspoken material. And also Batman leaves the gun on his desk and he says, a nice ending to your career or whatever. And he walks down the hallway and we get to hear the gunshot and shit. So the implication is Batman was okay with that dude fucking killing himself. Cool. In the comic, he got there and the dude was already dead.
Right.
A little different, a little bizarre.
I don't have to save you. I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you.
But I don't have to save you aspect. The mutants, man, I was glad they kept them looking the exact same. Anybody might have been tempted to be like, let's update the look.
Yeah, it's totally illogical and kind of ridiculous, but if you're going to do it, do it.
It never went that way, though. He didn't predict that either. I guess some would say skinheads, but they predate The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
So skinheads with Devo glasses never became a threat.
With the Geordie LaForge vibe. It's the Geordie gang.
Oh, God, this is an amazing sequence in the book. And it really does work here as well. There's some lines in voiceover that disappear from this sequence that show up later, like him going, Dick called it the Batmobile, something a kid would say. Later on, he says that to Robin when she's dragging him onto the Batmobile's table, the surgical table. This sequence,
the rubber bullets.
But they do it here. How they impart that information is instead they have the mutant leader pick up a bullet and say rubber bullets.
Right.
Which this looks straight out of Miller. That's so tits right there. Look how fucking massive it is. And this is where Nolan took the idea for the Tumbler from. The idea of a bat tank. This was it. Like what you're missing is some of the voiceovers, him talking about the backstory. Like I retrofitted her for some urban riots a few years ago.
Right.
So that's why it looks like this gigantic fucking tank. But they do the cool thing where it's like they actually show it tilting down to face the mutant leader when he's like, fight me. In the voiceover, he's telling you stuff about, the only thing that could cut through her hole is not from this planet.
Right.
So all this fucking shots they're firing them at him mean nothing. And again, now you don't need to tell people this in voiceover because they're just showing it to you cinematically. But because, we're so used to the fucking source material, you just want to hear some of that shit.
Now, those are not rubber mortars, I'm pretty sure.
But the way I understand his logic is if you cause damage around them, and shit hurts them. And it's fucking, totally. I like this shot. That was never in the fucking comic. That is dope right there. Robin kind of chasing the Batmobile down the hill. That's tits. You can't do that in no comic book. And that's where shit really comes to life.
Although it does sort of make you wonder exactly where she was training all of her 13 years.
There was if you look in her room, there's something that says gymnast on it. Which is like either a trophy or some indication of like she's been hopping around her whole young
Luckily,
life.
Cirque du Soleil trained me for street combat.
Now I don't remember this either. I don't remember them doing a sequence with dudes on the roof getting electrified. But I like this. This whole sequence I thought was good. The raid of the Batmobile is pretty damn amazing. Look, and they just keep fucking firing shit at him. Could you imagine? This is the only problem with the Batman mythos, man. If you see somebody as a tank shaped like a bat, and that you cannot destroy with anything. Don't you go like, okay, who's that? Who's got that kind of money in this town?
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
Gotham really has the worst police department.
Well, people are like, Ra's al Ghul figured it out. He's a genius. No, he's not. He's observant.
Yeah, like he kind of paid attention a little bit.
Hugo Strange hypnotizes him to get the secret out. But like, again, all somebody has to do is just take a step back and be like, he's got to look at these. Remember the whole wonderful toys thing?
Right.
That takes money, people. None of this shit happens for free. See, rubber bullets. Instead, in the book, the voiceover is him blowing motherfuckers apart or away, I should say. And the voiceover is rubber bullets. Honest. Oh, there's the shot. That's fucking fantastic. Where the neck of it comes down. The one thing I don't buy, I never did from The Dark Knight Returns was Batman playing Marty McFly. Just because this motherfucker calls him chicken.
Right.
Batman comes out. But in the book, there's more of a voiceover explaining to you why he gets out, where he says, I have to know. Right. And he's talking, he's like, look at him, Dick. He's always, not always, but periodically throughout The Dark Knight Returns, he's constantly talking to Dick Grayson, a young Robin, who's, particularly in this sequence, who's no longer sitting beside him. Like he talks about the seat next to me is empty. You know, that's where you would be, Dick. And when he's looking through the screen at the mutant leader who's screaming at him, he says, look at him, Dick. He's like nothing we've ever fought before and blah, blah, blah. So you get more why the fuck he would jump out and try to beat this dude's ass. As portrayed here, it's more just him going like, you know, I'll give it a shot. Alfred, you know, steps in to be like, sir, he'll kill you. And he's good. Whoever plays Alfred, really spot on. That moment is really good, very desperate. And also the moment later on where, you know, he's talking to Carrie Keller. He's like, tells her his name. He's like, my name's Bruce. And you hear him go like, sir, you're delirious. This
crazy.
This is the Bane fight I think perhaps most of us were hoping for in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. You kind of wanted some choreography. You wanted the sense that fucking Batman is the bomb, but can't.
He's just a physically he cannot beat him. And he even says that in Dark Knight Returns. He says like, I don't think I can beat him. Or like that's where leaving the voiceover out hurts. Right here in this moment in the book, he's saying, get closer, play dead, and then bam, you know, so then you see him exploding. Because right there, visually, you see him doing the fade, you know, where he's like, I can't quite keep focused, and then suddenly he springs back to life. But when you got the voiceover is, you know, you're in his head and he's going, come on, get closer. And now, you know, he's just playing possum. But boom, he breaks his fucking arm. I mean, you never saw that in the book. There's an implication of it. Then she sets it later on. I mean,
when he just starts wailing at him with the fucking tire iron.
It's pretty badass. This shot, bam! Come on, you never see that in a fucking, you know, JLA cartoon or something like that. They don't let you get away with that in prime time or in the afternoon.
And again,
bam!
Once more for your mother.
Do you think this is where they got the idea to beat Joker beating Robin? Oh, I love it. Here it comes, man. I start crying when I watch this with my old lady. You know, and my wife's sitting there going, that's what they tell little girls, man, to go right for the eyes. The first thing to do, go for the eyes. This is not in the book either. This gummy shit that he whips onto his face. He does something else. There's a chemical thing that he throws at him instead. But I thought this was a nice touch. And then in the comics, he goes out and she has this don't be dead moment, which is kind of sweet. But then you never see her journey from where he is.
Right, like he comes to in the Batmobile.
She's getting him on the platform. But so, you know, it was a movie, so they got to show you. This is kind of nice. He was looking over and he saw a Robin. Probably, you know, if you had the voiceover, you would have been saying Dick, which I guess maybe that's where the voiceover falls apart. Because if you got this old man talking to Dick all the time, he's like, oh, Dick, I love you. Dick, I need you now. Dick, are you coming at me? Yeah, I guess that's where my fault.
Little to the left, Dick.
Dick, you were always my little monkey wrench. That's what he says in the scene when he's fighting. He's like, where are you, Dick? You were always my little monkey wrench. I love that line too, where he goes, Two-Face called you the boy hostage. Robin the boy hostage. You hated that. Really nice stuff. Here, this isn't in the book either, where she's dragging him and then he gets up. Right about, the book kind of cuts in after the ass beating, right to about here, where she's putting him on the platform.
Right.
And you hear Alfred being like, that's a good girl, go away now. But she jumps inside.
I guess this is a little less unbelievable that a 98-pound 13-year-old is going to drag a 300-pound man armored into a tank up a hill. But okay, whatever.
I think, and that's one of those things where it's like, you should have cut away.
We don't need this part.
Yeah, no, don't let people think. Because I was watching going, I couldn't move that guy.
No. Fuck no.
I couldn't move her, dude. If she was passed out in the rubble,
Like
I'd be
100
like,
pounds
you're
of
just
dead
going to
weight.
have to stay here. I'll put some shit around your throat so the rats don't eat that, but I got to go.
I'm going to send up a flare so the cops can find you.
Oh, this is fucking nice, man. All the shit about the gyro, the balance, that's straight out the book. And then, of course, the
splint.
The splint.
The sweet splint.
And he's just like, where'd you learn to do that? But
I
then
love
he
you,
doesn't.
Batman.
She says in the comic, Girl Scouts.
Right.
They don't go for it here. And then he just goes right to, what's your name? Which I really like. I think they pull this moment off really nice.
I love you, Batman.
They did it in 2 panels in the book where she says Carrie Kelly, and then she says the very next panel, Robin. And then, of course, his fucking response. And then Alfred's going to jump on his ass.
It's the equivalent of like, who are you? James Bond. Aren't you a secret agent?
Yeah.
Fuck you, James Bond.
Shut the fuck. You're stoned. Shut up.
Everybody in every port of call, your name is fucking James Bond. You're no good to us anymore.
That is out of the book too, where he's like, and Robin come to the cave, and Robin comes with us, and he's got his hand on her hand as well. Very sweet. This is out the book as well. What they lose is her going like the wall, and he says, "Don't worry, it's a hologram." But this image of her looking out the porthole,
Yeah, that's perfect.
straight out. They added the giant dinosaur, but the penny is, you can see it's a massive fucking wide shot in the book. Let's see if they do it. Yeah, they kind of do it here, man. Everything tiny. The cave is fucking huge. And now here they have a moment where Alfred tells Robin where Batman is going, which,
To find himself or whatever, to find his power.
yes, to find his strength. But that didn't happen in the book. I went and double checked on that. He comes out, drops his shit. Robin stays. There's no moment here with the computer and Alfred. Although I thought this was a kind of nice moment and performance moment for the whoever's playing Robin, the girl, where she's just like, "Where'd he go?" Like, it sounded very real. This is nice. The cut back and forth.
It's Master Bruce's naked time.
Yeah, that's missing. Like, if you remember, when he goes into, now, right about now, he'd be going to voiceover crazy, all about, you see the pieces of his costume left behind. He's going to look for the fucking, that bat in the darkness, the one he saw when he was a kid, what have you. Whether or not the bat is literal or metaphorical, they're never quite clear. But he's going off into the darkness and, presenting himself to his angry God, if you will, and saying, "I'm not done. You're not done with me, rather." This is not in the book, of course. They do this moment here at the funeral of his parents where, he sees in the coffin his dad in the Batman outfit, or it's Batman. He touches his hand. It's cinematic stuff. But in the book itself, all this narration of him talking about not yet, there's still there. He says it a few times in the book. This would be a good death. At one point, he's like, "This would be a stupid death."
Right.
So, that's kind of missing from this moment. But then at the end of this, there is the panel where he puts his hand on Robin's shoulder, and they end the moment there. But in the book, there's that shot of him naked with the splint, and she's jumping up into his arms like, "You're alive."
Right.
But I guess somebody was like, "We can't sell
time
this."
out.
Yeah,
It's
come on, dude. It just I know it's meant to be noble or heroic, but it just looks dirty. I don't know how else to tell you this, Bruce, but it looks dirty. So it kind of goes away. And some things have to, I guess, hit the deck.
Which is fine. Like, that's the art of adaptation. It's like, you got to pick and you got to choose and you got to decide. And sometimes they went right. Like, that's a good call. We don't need to see crazy old Bruce Wayne hugging a kid while his dong is hanging out.
Maybe you don't, but that's what I dream about. That's how I see. That's the only way I go to sleep at night, is see myself as little Carrie Kelly hugging on to giant Batman, who's just indifferent to my affection because he's just a pillar of strength and righteousness.
Crazy. and full of crazy.
They did this rather well too. The Wolper and Lana
Mm.
Lang, man. What do you think it says about old Lana Lang that like years later she gained weight and shit? Do you think that's because like she had Superman?
I know, because Clark strayed. Clark found his bliss elsewhere.
You know she goes to like Jenny Craig classes and she's like, if my ex-boyfriend hadn't broken up with me, and they're like, why can't you just get over your ex-boyfriend? It's not like he's some sort of Superman. She's like, oh, you dick.
I fucking hate you.
You have no idea.
That's why I just had Cheetos for breakfast.
The only fucking way I could deal with the fact that I had Superman and lost him to that fucking city slicker is by eating a whole fucking thing of Oreos, man. That's my fucking comfort.
Yes, I just had a silo of Pringles.
They never really explained that, man. It was a nice kind of real world touch. It's like, hey, not everyone remains thin in comics.
No.
Some people have a window, and then later on they're like, yeah, fuck it.
It's not always a male fantasy for you.
This is a very true moment straight out the books. They nailed this very well. Her looking at the Robin costume. And it's pretty powerful stuff, man. But there it is. The next panel would be her leaping into his arms.
I love you, Batman.
Yeah, it's weird because he's fucking all naked. And then when we return, he puts a magic arm brace on, just like Nolan's magic leg brace for Batman's broken leg, which again, Nolan constantly borrowing from the source material.
Totally fine.
Some would argue that a mutant leader is very much like Bane to a large degree, even in appearance.
Bigger nipples. I think.
Pointier nipples, to say, at least Madonna type nipples.
He's excited about crime.
They got this right too. I mean, the mayor, again, it's put through kind of a DC animated U prism, but
Yindel's got this crazy sci-fi shirt on. Like
she's got the coat.
She's like a replicant.
She's gonna start. This dude behind them, he's gonna start folding fucking origami and shit. Leave it all around, freak her out. Hey man, you see a turtle crossing the road, Yindel. What do you think about that?
Don't void comp me.
This was, of all the things you fucking keep, man.
Yeah.
This chick in the fucking t-shirt /
brain stew
sweater, like this bit about like the mayor's ratings are going through the roof. Like that the girl walking, I guess. That is I couldn't believe that they kept. Like I was like, man, why would you? And then I had to go back to the book to go like,
there it is.
Is that real? There it is. Voiceover, of course, is missing from all this stuff, and instead they've added this conversation, which I don't think appears in the book.
I like that they're in like Cylon jail. There's just like nothing but those red eyes back and forth.
Yeah, it's like, and they let them keep their glasses in jail.
Yeah, wouldn't you take that shit?
Yeah, I mean, right away, it's like you're gonna have to put those in the envelope that you get if you ever get out.
Yeah, you'll get it back.
They're like, I don't shave, I'm taking off my glasses. He doesn't say this, and now it's just degenerated into me going, this didn't happen. But there's no evening Mr. Mayor line. It's just he opens the cell, heads in, and then there's a wonderful voiceover line, and they even removed the motion. Jim Gordon's supposed to be going for his gun, and the voiceover is him going, some idiot stops me from doing the obvious because he's going to fucking shoot the dude in the head. So they removed that. I'm like, why not put that in? Yeah, like in a world where you're PG-13 showing Batman punching fuckers in the head really hard.
That dude just ate the mayor. Like,
yeah,
that's cool.
Come on, like just go the distance. This dude's got fucking balls for a face. He's like a Dick Tracy character, man. Scrote neck. There it is. Yeah. The magic fucking arm brace that only Bruce Wayne has that can unbreak any bone in the world.
Master Bruce, would you like to give that technology to the medical industry?
No, let him wait. I might need it 10 years from now.
It's on me.
Yeah, he's gray, man. I think they're playing Alfred as like 85, 90. He's still handing out laundry. Fucking spry. When's he ever get a break? He's like, my whole life, dude. I never got married. Like, I gave a pussy to fucking wage your war on crime. Can I take a break? Can you wash your own shit?
There's a lovely place in Italy I'd like to go.
Let's bring in some help, man. Like some Italian girl can't speak English, so she can't tell anyone you're Batman. She's pretty and she's helpful. Be nice to have something to look at. The war goes on. Jason honored me. Now, mind you, this was, I love this. I like his little speech to her. Deviate from any way from my plan and you're fired. But he also says like your training will take weeks. That's it? Nobody ever told me that. I would become Batman if training, or
Seriously,
at least
like-
Robin if the training took only
It
weeks.
takes longer than weeks to get good at fries. And suddenly you're Robin.
Yeah, that's the kind of intensive training you're gonna have. Man.
You're at Apex Tech and you keep the tools.
Every day you wake up and you're just thrust into it, I guess. But I would be like, look, is there an option that's months?
Right.
You know, and like we just ease ourselves into it a little bit.
What's the benefit package here? Do I
I
get
didn't.
health?
Here's the thing: my parents weren't killed, so I'm not as angry as you. So I can ease into it a little bit more. I understand you're on a clock of some sort, but me, I just want to help.
Yeah, I was like, my parents are fine.
Yeah, they're stoners. I mean, they irritate me, but in a kind of Alex P. Keatonish way, considering it was 1986. They are kind of played as like,
Totally.
"Duh,
It's fine. Whatever.
didn't we used to have a kid?" That's one of the lines. I like that she was put into costume, man. You know, Batman, all about the art of subterfuge. And what is it? Theatricality and deception. So they're throwing her into disguise, if you will. I always kind of dug. Can't believe Rob and Don made it. What we didn't give a shout out for in that one sequence, I kept bitching, this is too long, those fucking thieves. There's a shout out to Turk in Daredevil.
Oh.
Remember, they go like, Turk said he killed Batman. He goes, Turk says a lot of things. Turk was this like fucking low level gangster character, a thug in Daredevil universe, always working for Kingpin, that Daredevil could easily beat his ass and fucking get information out of him. So when Miller did Dark Knight Returns, he did a little shout out to Turk, man.
Not Turk 182.
Not that one. Somebody knew. Somebody blew. Turk 182. What was it? Fucking something flew. Someone knew.
Tyler knew.
Yes!
Somebody flew.
Turk 182. I ain't vouch. I was gonna be like, go watch Turk 182. I haven't watched it in so long. I can't vouch for it, but fucking for that, I can't believe we remember that.
No, well, because it was the only movie HBO had when we were kids.
In the beginning, that
Yeah.
and Beastmaster.
That Beastmaster and Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, which I watched every day because there was nudity in it.
When I was a kid, man, the Lily Tomlin movie was on a lot.
Incredible Shrinking Woman.
Yes. Oh, and now you can't fucking find it anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, I went to look for it online. I want to watch it. Nobody got it streaming. I got to buy an old Steve's DVD. Can you believe it? Got to fucking jump in the time machine and go purchase one of those.
Gotta blow this off.
This sequence is in the book a little bit. They changed up just a bit, but his whole speech about Pearl Harbor and him, the man being too big, and her, like, we're still talking about Roosevelt. This is in the book. Now, if I didn't go forward, did they hook up? Or am I confusing it with year one?
I think it's year one.
That's where he's like winds up with the lady, he cheats on his wife or something.
Yeah.
And that's Sarah. He winds up Sarah Essen. This is in the book, her leaning in the corner and pulling her face off and stuff. Hats off to Miller. I think he was the first to be like, girl sidekick. Like it became in vogue later on, even in my Green Hornet script. And then long before that, in the Green Hornet comics, they took Kato into girl territory. And cool, kind of progressive. And I mean, you got 51% of the population out there going, I have no way into Batman because he's man.
13-year-old girl.
13-year-old girl. Yeah. And come on, man. It's like you're hanging out with Batman. You're Batman's best friend.
Nothing cooler.
What 13-year-old girl wouldn't want that? Once again, shout out to David Selby, who really crushed it. It was so nice they actually went out, and I mean, not to say that none of the previous Commissioner Gordon's were actors. They went out and got themselves a fucking actor, man. Nobody tied to this world at all. Not even like an actor. They're like, oh, David Selby, he's in fucking everything.
Yeah.
Ian
McShane.
Yeah, that would have made sense. Like a lot of people would have said that, but they went for a guy where they were like, huh, man, this is the right man for the right job. I like this sequence.
This is my favorite sequence in the whole thing.
Really? This is the one you went for?
This fucking kills me.
Yeah, they did a really nice job. And the whole this is just one more time, old friend up on the roof, him asking for help. And the help, I remember watching this going, what's the help he wants? And it's release the mutant. Release the mutant leader. Where do you stand on the whole thing as a whole?
I mean, it's like I appreciate a lot of it. I appreciate the sort of love and care that they render a lot of this stuff in. But for me, it just feels smaller. Like
than the book itself.
Than the book itself. Like,
could that be said of every movie?
Not really.
Adaptation. Think of an adaptation that's better than the source material or as big as the source material.
Godfather is as big.
Okay.
Bigger even. Jaws is bigger.
Jaws is better, that's for
better.
sure.
You know, like it, but this just kind of condenses it. A lot of it is you're losing the voiceover, which gives you all of that texture, gives you all of that richness.
Do you think like maybe they're doing part 1 and then part 2, and then maybe they do a Mondo version that has the voiceover all across it? I pay for that. I'll pay 3 times. I'll buy it again, and I won't bitch. Like, especially if it's like the all voiceover edition. Yeah. This was straight out the book. Him like, you got any kids, officer? What about a wife? Sweet little wife. But in the book, right now, Batman. I see. In the book, I'm not quite sure whether it's meant to be voiceover or actual dialogue,
because it's leading him through.
Yeah, it's shaped in dialogue balloon shapes, but there's no tails, obviously. But so Batman's internals are always placed in boxes and whatnot. So I think here they cut, and they could have used him like just leading him
through.
And then the one thing that's different is here, as he launches out into the pit, he's kicked out into the pit. Whereas in the here, watch, bang, he's kicked. And in the book, as he's approaching that hole, suddenly there's the cape, and then they both come through out the pipe together, wrapped in the cape. But hey, man, again,
but like this, like lit by the red of the visors and the fire and the mud, and it's also fluid, and
they knew they had to end as fucking perfect as possible.
Yeah,
and boy, do they, man! It's a really great fight sequence. Batman rising up out of the mud, which you're going to see in 1 second. Him being like, "Okay, son, show me." Is really, come on, look at that, man. The whole time he's just been under there, fucking not breathing.
I don't need my cape.
And they find a way, man. When you look at him as Bruce Wayne, you know, he looks a little more realistic. But as they put him in the Batman cowl and give him this massive lantern jaw, he winds up looking a bit more comic booky.
Right.
But boy, they did a nice job. Now, in the fight sequence in the book, the whole time he's walking us through everything that's going on, and the deltoids bundle that he hits, and how he won't be using the arm, or he's not even 100 men can help him lift that arm. And then, you know, he says something like, I give him just the right kind of cut above the eye, the kind that bleeds. And then a few panels later, he's just like, the blood arrives in his eyes on schedule. Now here, they'll do it here where he'll cut him over the eyes, and homeboy will ask him like, what was that meant to tickle or something like that? And see right there.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't happen in the book where he asks him a question and shit, but they've got to set it up because it's no, you know, once again, voiceover would have eliminated all that, but they might have tried it and it didn't work.
I love how when almost every punch lands, the frame shakes.
Yes.
You know, it's just a thud, thud, thud. It's such a fight. It's changing the nature of physics.
If only they could have done that fucking Fight Club thing where the frame shakes,
like out of register.
Yes, I thought this was nice too, man. Him whipping the can at him. I thought the whole fight sequence was incredibly fucking well done, well choreographed. And this might be something that, even though they don't have the voiceover that's in the book, the movie may have the fight sequence over the book itself, just because you get to play it out and look how much we're getting to see.
Yeah. I mean, because fight sequences are like car chases. Like there's something inherently visceral about watching it happen.
Even though you're just like, we're watching people sitting down. I mean, that's what it is. They're not really doing anything. They're just pressing a gas pedal or not pressing. Oh, he went for the titty twister right there. See, and then he goes, that's supposed to tickle. And then now he's going to explain what he did to his arm. May not hurt, but you're not going to be able to use that arm for a while. And that's something that, like, I don't know that Batman would slow it down in a fight to be like, fuck you. Maybe because he's like, look, I'll talk to him so he gives me a chance to breathe.
Right. Like, but I would have sold that a little bit harder.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And or voiceover would help with that, with like, I need time. Hey, let me talk to you for a second, buddy. Bang, headbutt. This motherfucker won't quit. Batman just won't be stopped.
There's no quitting him.
You think we talked about it on one of this podcast, but I always wish they would just do fucking Black Batman. Don't even call Black Batman, just Batman. And the whole thing's just black. Don't you think it would provide different stories than we've ever seen before?
It kind of would. And
billionaire black man is still going to have a different perspective than billionaire white black Batman. Look at dude. Oh, this fucking, he's pounding this motherfucker's ass. And look what he's doing his face. He fucking breaks his arm. He breaks his leg. Like in the book, he goes, I should stop with the leg. Or he goes, I go for it or whatever. Oh, they let him do it. They let him go crazy. And then they do a nice transition here that's not quite in the comics, but like they're able to do it. This dude arches his eyebrows, and suddenly we're into the
Sons of the Bat.
Yeah, I forgot about that when I was watching this, and suddenly I was like, "Oh, this is
That's
fuck!" I
right.
forgot, man. He gets his own army after this, and I was sitting there going, "Like, do you really want all these psychopaths fighting on behalf of Batman?" But then I was like, "Well, at least they're fighting on the side of right." But as you find out in the books,
Not so much.
yeah, some of the shit they're doing is very extreme. There's one thing they left out, which I was like, man, I guess that was too intense. But there's one of those like cutaways, woman on a subway and she gets pushed outside, and she was like felt something rumbling in her bag, and then it's cut to a news report that's like, grenade in woman's handbag blows her up or something. Film at 11.
Sons of the Batman, at whatever, responsible for the crime.
Right.
Wow, we're just grenading people now.
And they do the whole, like, they use that piece where the Sons of Batman will, this is the last statement we'll make. Here they did a bunch of voiceover in the book with Jim Gordon retiring, putting up his badge and his gun. I thought they ended very nicely. Like they found a structure for this. So hats off to the writer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people be like, "What do you mean writer?" Somebody else wrote it, of course. Frank Miller, Klaus Janson, Lynn Varley. Without them, we don't have The Dark Knight Returns. But in terms of turning it into something, whoever adapted this did a really nice job of creating a 3-act structure for 2 books that didn't have it.
Right.
Like, this is its own complete story. As much as we know there's more coming, and they tease a little bit with the ending coming up right here with the Joker, it works by itself. If you never read Dark Knight Returns and you just watch this movie, you'd be like, that's cool.
And it's totally natural because you anticipate the Joker being the big
in a sequel of sorts. Like that. I thought some people I saw on Twitter were like, they shouldn't have broken it up into 2. And then they would have lost some stuff, but here you're going to get a version that's like over fucking 2 hours long. This is an hour and change. And the next half's going to be just as long.
You
so
get 2.5 hours of Batman.
Totally.
That's never a bad thing.
But this is, I thought the structure was really fucking nice. And this is Michael Emerson right here, the guy, Linus. Batman darling.
Mm.
And then boom, hard out, man. Like it was a really fucking nice, I thought very well done. That reminded me of the RoboCop ending. I think they were a little influenced by their star. Jay Oliver, hats off, did a really nice job.
Yes.
He worked on some other stuff like Young Justice or whatever it's called. Bob Goodman, that's the dude that wrote the thing, who did the adaptation. Did a nice job of finding a way, to make this into a 3-act structure story, because we're only in the middle. Ariel Winter, that's the Robin. I don't know who that is, but she did a good job.
Yeah, she's a Modern Family girl.
David Selby crushed. He did a great job. Peter Weller crushed. Wade Williams, who's that?
I don't know.
I guess he played Two-Face, maybe. You think? I thought the mutant leader sounded like Kevin Michael Richardson. I got to look and see if it was.
Here's my question for you.
Fire away.
So in Dark Knight Returns, Batman's been off the scene for
Chris Drake. He did the music.
Good job, Chris. For what, 10 years now? Like
yes.
That's the
Dark Knight. What, here?
Yeah, in here.
10 years. They open the story by saying Andrea Romano once again, some of the really strong cast. They open with this coincides with the 10-year anniversary of the last sighting of the Batman. Right. So 10 years in the book.
So as we've been led to believe in previous iterations of Batman, that Batman is the sort of instigator of the arms race of crazy in Gotham City. Like,
yes.
Batman exists, and so there has to be evil.
Escalation.
Right. So if he's gone for 10 years, how do you get the escalation of the mutants, which seem to be above and beyond, like what are they responding to? But
I think they play that in the books, maybe not so much in the feature, but in the books of like, they are unlike anything we're used to. And even Commissioner Gordon says like, these guys don't make sense. Like a mugger wants a purse, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the idea is like, this is, and he says like, we've never fought anything like this. The idea is that they're a criminal that's absolutely unfathomable to even Batman. Like even working with his crazy rogues gallery, everybody had a MO. These cats are just chaos incarnate. So they're not like, this is what would, I think maybe the statement is Batman or no Batman, nasty shit happens in every civilization. Gangs happen, and this gang happened in absence of a Batman to crush it.
Or maybe like in absence of the Joker. Maybe that's the response. Like without the Joker, something needed to fill that void. Right. That sort of anarchic.
I buy that.
Sure, why not?
That's a good theory.
Shit up as we go.
Where do you? I enjoyed it. I've watched, like I said, a few times. Will you watch it again? Where do you stand on the whole thing?
I mean, if I had to grade it,
Yeah,
if I was pretending to be a critic,
if you're one of those guys.
if I was one of those guys who does that sort of thing, which we're not judging anyway.
Right.
It's kind of a solid B plus for me.
Yeah,
Like there's so much of it that works, but there's a lot of it that's just nostalgic for me that I'm bringing a decent amount of baggage to it.
that's true, man.
Independent of its relative quality, but just like I love it so much that it's giving me all of that stuff I want.
It's true. I give it a lot of space, even as much as I'm like, man, fucking, I that voiceover should be there. I give it some space because I love the source material and the fact that it fucking exists. Like, I don't want to be one of those cats that's just like, oh, they gave us Dark Knight Returns, and I bitched about it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's not enough to bitch about, but there's definitely some stuff where you're like, ooh, they would have benefited from voiceover. But this is pretty damn close to what I dreamed about whenever I said, man, I wish someone would do a Dark Knight Returns something one day.
Right.
So on that level, like, I would give it a solid A if I was a grading man myself. But for the choice to not use voiceover, I'd give it a separate grade of B, just for that choice. Like, again, you're always going to have to make choices as a filmmaker. These cats made a choice where they were just like, wow, we're going to go without that. Our movie's going to stand without that. And we respect the source material and we like that. Maybe they tried it, didn't work, but for whatever reason, no Batman voiceover. And you respect that choice. I would love it though, if when they're all done and they got their 1 and 2 and they've sold us 1, they've sold us 2, and then they do the Mondo version.
Just give me 2.
Oh, just fucking layer it on top like gravy. All that voiceover, man. Just throw it. There's plenty of room for it. So I'll pay double. Like, you hear me, Warner Brothers? Like, I'll pay a lot of money. Bet you a lot of cats might.
Now, I want to say that I read somewhere that the Dark Knight Returns 2-parter is the last of these things that Warner Brothers Premiere is going to do. Like, I think that they're closing the book on
doing straight
on
to
their DC direct to straight to video thing.
Why?
My guess is that after a while they stopped making the money.
Because you can't move as many like actual units.
Yeah,
as
like
you used
video, DVD. That market is just slowly and not so slowly, maybe eroding.
Right.
VOD. They're still trying to figure out that revenue stream, and like if the money's not there, then they can't pour it in, and that would be kind of sad. I mean, it's a hell of a way to go out. Like if you're going to go out, then Dark Knight
Go out on
Returns
Dark
is the
Knight,
way to go.
But still, they've done nice work, man. Even the stuff that like I'm not wild about, I was just happy existed.
Yeah, like the Green Lantern Emerald Knight.
Yeah,
I'm not even that big a Green Lantern fan.
I watched it once, barely, but I was just fucking happy it existed. Like, wow, they're trying. Why
Frontier
not?
was still really strong.
Of course, and they did a fucking Jonah Hex cartoon at one point, which I was like, right on. I like that they were trying.
Yeah.
That'd be sad if this was meant to be the end. However, you're right that you're going out on fucking top notch.
Yeah.
Best. I mean, shy of the Watchmen, and the Watchmen's been done as a pretty faithful adaptation. Yeah. Shy of the squid pussy monster thing. but yeah, this it's. I guess if you were going to close up shop, this would be the one to do it on. But it's a shame they're closing up shop.
Yeah. I hope I'm wrong. I'm just making that shit up.
And I know they also, I mean, now they're doing like their DC Nation. So maybe they're like, fucking, we don't need to make video movies anymore. We're building our own channel network, whoever knows.
And they're moving into live action more with Arrow, and they're developing Wonder Woman for the CW.
Yeah, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. In order to develop the next generation of fans, give them cartoons, man. You got to keep them cartoons, keep them lubricated with cartoons so that when they grow up, they can accept the live action version. They have something they feel affectionate toward. Like, oh, I used to watch that when I was a kid.
Indoctrination.
It's a good watch, man. Pick it up if you haven't seen it already. A really good watch. I can't wait. Do you know when the next one comes out?
I want to say it's like spring, maybe. Or is it Christmas? Are they doing like for Christmas? Maybe
not this October? Christmas. I know it's not till 2013.
Right. Then I'm going to say like March, April, something like that.
I'll take it if it's that. I can wait till then. Somebody was fucking going like, I think it's the end of 2013. I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah.
Like, this ain't the movies, son. Like, I want to see the fucking second half. I ain't waiting 3 years. You better show me the next half. Hopefully coming damn soon. But, I can't wait. I can't wait to listen to that dude do all that Joker dialogue. I sat there going like, is he the dude? Because, of course, Mark Hamill, you think of the Joker in animated form, you think of Mark. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm willing to see what they're going to do with him. And don't forget, the Joker in Dark Knight Returns is very different. He's almost very like oddly effeminate in a weird way. So the performance is going to be different, probably more in line with a Heath Ledger-y kind of thing. But it sounds like Michael Emerson's bringing his own taste to it. I'm beside myself. I can't wait because you know what happens next? Superman, Joker, Catwoman. Do you think they're going to do the Catwoman thing where she's like, he's insane, Bruce. Like he tied her up and shit, dressed her up like Wonder Woman. And then we get to see the big fight.
Yeah, Big Blue Schoolboy.
Oh. And Ollie Queen soon, dude.
That's right.
One-armed Ollie Queen going to make an appearance. I can't wait.
Although I'm sure that I will miss that moment in the voiceover where he says, it would have taken years of a fortune and scientific experimentation to come across a synthetic kryptonite. Luckily, I had years of a fortune.
I know, we're going to miss that. Unless they give that to him in,
I'm sure they will.
Out loud, saying, dialogue to say to Clark. Thanks for coming by and doing this, man.
Nah, man, it was a good time.
Yeah, right. And I'm still beside myself at the boy who skipped prom and took his limo and friends to go to the Batman premiere. You are a true geek, sir. True geek.
You can't breed it out of me.
All right. So when it happens again, when they come back with part 2, we reconvene in a few months, and you and I will do the Dark Knight Returns part 2.
Done and done.
I want to give it up for my amazing guest with great insight, man, Mr. Mark Bernardin. Well done, sir.
Gracias.
You entered the ring, and you did well. Tune in next week, and we'll talk to some other motherfucker probably have way more to do with Batman than either of us. Same bat time, same bat channel. Smodcast.com. Welcome to Fat Man on Batman. I'm Kevin Smith. Okay, man, we're still celebrating the Dark Knight Returns Part 2. Last week, you heard the Paley Center panel, which was fantastic. It displaced this week's guest, man. First time we sat down with Dark Knight Returns Part 1. We did it with my good friend, Mark Bernardin, man. And we went through from top to bottom and had such a blast. And we said, hey, when Part 2 happens, you'll be back. Part 2 has happened, ladies and gentlemen. He has returned. He hath returned. Give it up for Mark Bernardin.
Welcome.
You watched it.
I did. Yes.
Where'd you see it for the first time?
I saw it on a plane the first time.
What was that like? Were people sitting next to you going, fucking grown man?
Like every flight I'm ever on.
How long was the flight?
It was Jersey to LA. So
so you had a chunky 5 at least.
Nice. Yeah, I get to
how deep in, listen to me. I'm like, this is like me going, hey man, I heard you fucked that chick. What was it like? And I want all the details. How long into the flight before you pop it open and go like, all right.
Well, I wanted to savor it, because it's not a thing you want to just like blow off really quick. So, the beverage cart came around. I'm like, I'll have a Coors Light because I'm fancy. And,
an appetizer, please. I will be watching Batman soon.
You don't understand. It was like an hour into the flight and I just kind of, popped it up on the iPad and, smooth.
I wept at the end of it. I'm not even going to fucking lie. I think I talked about it last week on the panel, but I wept a few times in it, but I really fucking wept at the end. It has instantly, both parts put together, slam them together, has jumped into my top 10 of all time. Because, and a lot of people will be like, you're out of here fucking A, fuck you. I'm 42. I can make my own decisions. But B, like your favorite of something doesn't have to be based on, the rules of fucking cinema or something like that. I have an emotional connection to that book, and they fucking did it. They cracked the code and did it, and they did it without the internal monologues.
Yeah.
That's a fucking magic trick.
Yeah. Because there was a thing when we first watched it. We're like, well, I'm missing that.
Yes.
Where'd that go?
And then by the time, even by the end of 1, I was like, well, you know what? They did fine without it. But for 2, like, it didn't matter. And there are so many fucking great lines in 2. Bob Goodman, the writer, I think it was his name, Bob Goodman. He found a way, he was talking on the panel about weaving a lot of the internals into his actual dialogue. And, I think it was, way more nuanced and wonderfully done in part 2. So much so that like in part 1, there were moments where I was like, I don't remember him talking to a fucking thug on the roof when he's going after Two-Face. I remember him pulling out the USB looking thing and freezing the bomb and whatnot. And I remember him and also, of course, the plot has been changed a little bit, or timeline's been altered in the feature version of Dark Knight Returns. Because if you remember the book, when Joker snaps out of it and he's like, Batman. This Dark Knight Part 2 opens with the Joker talking to his psychiatrist, and within the first 10 minutes, I think, he sits down with the big dude who's the bomb builder.
Right.
So when that happens in the book, that conversation is about the Joker, like the big guy's going like, I want to work for you, Joker, but like Harvey's paying me a bunch of money to make a bomb for him, and he goes through this long explanation, and then Joker just exhales and says, tell me about these bombs. So in the book, the bomb that's about to go off is not Harvey's doing. Harvey is duped. He's like, he doesn't even know the bomb's going to go off. In the first part of Dark Knight Returns, part 1, the animated flick, it's intentional. Like it's even in the dialogue, and it's pretty dope dialogue delivered well by Peter Weller, but it is a little uncharacteristic if you think about it. Batman would never have a conversation with a fucking criminal thug. and also, of course, they have to have him think out loud for the audience to be like, I see, he's deducing things. But instead, since there is no internal monologue, there is this scene that's crafted where he's talking to one of the fucking hoods on the roof. And what's gotten across is that Harvey Dent wants the bomb to go off. He had told his crew, like, we're going to ransom and then fucking the bomb's never going to go off. But as Batman's looking at it, he's going, he wants to die. Like he's saying that it's Two-Face's intent. Now, if you know the book, that ain't the case at all. It's the Joker's doing. The reason that bomb goes off and there's that amazing fucking panel of it exploding in the internal that just says 4 men die, leaving the world no poorer or something like that. That happens in the flick, but it happens in the flick according to plan of Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent wants the bomb to go off, wants to die. That's a massive change from the book, but you don't even give a fuck, man. This is kind of like The Shining book and The Shining movie. Cause, you know, a lot of people will be like, they're two different beasts. No, they're not. They're so fucking close with the exception of the hedge animals. Right. You know, and maybe the hornet's nest or whatever the fuck. That they're pretty darn close. I never understood why Stephen King was like, I fucking hate it so much that I gotta make my own. And
well, I remember reading somewhere that his biggest problem with The Shining was that Stanley Kubrick was an atheist.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. And so,
I mean, not that he was an atheist, but why would he care?
Because he cared that, you know, there's something like a person who doesn't believe doesn't necessarily believe in the supernatural.
That's right.
So, like, being able to find the source of power in
man. If you don't believe in God, do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because isn't God like the ultimate ghost?
Holy ghost.
Yeah. He is. 3 persons and 1 God, if you believe it.
Yeah. You know, so, and he also had this weird problem with casting of Nicholson, which was the minute Nicholson shows up on the screen, you know he's going to go crazy. Yeah. He's the bomb under the chair. Like, at some point, it's going to go off. So you never went through that journey with a normal man going mad. You went through when is this guy going to go mad?
It's true, because even from the first scene in the car or even from the first scene at the hotel, he has a bit of a fucking, coiled spring.
Yeah.
But in the car with his family, he's not really warm. You know what I'm saying? Like you hear that, anyway. Honey? He saw it on the television and just not like, I love you, Danny. And we've heard prior to that he busted his fucking kid's arm all drunk one night and shit. So you'd imagine he'd be overcompensating, like, you rock, Danny. Sit on my lap, drive the fucking car. But you're right. He is kind of chill. And it's not to be like, he sucked in that movie. He's amazing. No. But you're right. The moment you see him, it's Jack Nicholson. He's going to go nuts. Even if you don't know The Shining.
Yeah, it's what he does.
Yeah.
Especially at that point in his career. Like, he hadn't gotten to like Warm and Fuzzy Astronaut or Curmudgeonly Neighbor. Like, he was Jack Nicholson.
Warm and Fuzzy Astronaut. I don't think of him as Warm and Fuzzy Astronaut as much as I think of him as Woman Fucking Astronaut. Like, he was slamming pussy in that movie. We're talking about somehow we got to terms of endearment. And he's just like, he winds up with Aurora, but remember, he's just like fucking so much.
Well, because he's an astronaut, dude.
You think that still works like that?
Buzz Aldrin, Hip Deep.
Really? He's like, I cannot, dude, I can't breathe. I'm always coming. Is he still alive?
I think, is he like the last one? Or there's like 3 dudes.
Yeah,
left.
he's the last one because did John Glenn die? Who just died?
Fuck it. Was it Armstrong?
Yeah, Neil Armstrong just died. Right. Let's get back to fucking Batman.
Astronauts, Batman.
Totally. So wait, you're saying that King didn't like The Shining because Kubrick being an atheist and Jack Nicholson being crazy from the jump. He's like, that's not my vision.
Right.
I
He's
wanted
like,
it to be a normal guy.
It's a good movie, but here are my fundamental flaws with it.
That's so weird. But okay, but back to the point. I love them both. I love the book, and I love that movie. And they are so fucking close, but you know, there are major differences. Same thing here, man. And the major difference, of course, between the book of The Dark Knight Returns and the movie of The Dark Knight Returns, both part 1 and 2, is the missing, voiceover, the missing internal narrative, the internal monologue of, Batman or every character, but mostly fucking Bruce Wayne / Batman. The filmmakers did such a good job with this, with both parts. You don't even miss it. And this is a magic trick in and of itself, because it's almost like going, let's do the Jesus story, but without the crucifixion. Like, it's a big deal. That's a missing fucking component, man. And somehow they found a way. Jay Oliver, the director, Bob Goodman, the writer, all the folks who were Bruce Timm, Andrea Romano, who cast it up. They found a way to do it, man, to find a way to tell that story without using the biggest muscle. You know what that's like? That's like having Gretzky on your first line. Or it's like having Gretzky on your team and going, I'm only going to play him as a penalty kill. And still on the PK, a lot of people, I don't understand this metaphor.
Well, see,
Canadians are nodding right now going,
right.
Of course.
And the rest of us black guys are like, what's a PK?
They're on the penalty kill.
Is that a FUBU line?
It is. It's right out of FUBU. For me, it's like, it's trying to fight with one arm tied behind your back. But just like in a Batman-like fashion where Batman could fight with one arm behind his back and triumph, this movie did it somehow. Somehow they were able to fucking leave that biggest muscle behind and still tell a compelling story that like grabs me, that makes me go, this is Dark Knight Returns. I don't sit there and go, this is fucking a variation. I look at it and I'm like, holy shit, my mind fills in all the gaps, moves things around the way they were in the book. They got so fucking close. It's a dream come true. Like halfway through watching it, I was rolling tears because I was like, I remember reading this book. And I remember for years after reading this book and reading this book multiple times a year and stuff, sitting around with Walter Flanagan from Comic Book Men and Tell Him Steve did, my friend, going like, wouldn't it be amazing, dude, if they did the movie? We wouldn't even talk about a cartoon version. No. Every once in a while you would see Akira or something like that, or what was another, like a fucking Ralph Bakshi rewatch Lord of the Rings. And you'd be like, why can't they do this for The Dark Knight Returns? And it was such a fucking far off whimsy. You might as well be like, how come I wasn't born with 3 dicks and wings? But we would talk about the live action version and be like, man, who would it be? And it was always like Clint Eastwood as old Batman and stuff. But we never dreamed that we'd see it in this lifetime. And even if we saw a live action version, you knew it would be bastardized. You knew it wouldn't be the same fucking thing. What they get away with in that book, what Miller got away with was years of continuity behind him, you know, so we can jump into a story with a full audience knowing little things like, you know, fucking, Selena Kyle escorts. Immediately, those of us that know the world are just like, oh my God, Catwoman grew up and grew out and rents out hookers and shit like that.
Let yourself go a little bit.
Yeah, just a touch. I mean, we all do. But, you know, you see stuff like that. If you're the normal moviegoer, that's who they make these movies, comic book movies for. It's always spoon fed. It's always just like, you know, he'd bust in and be like, Selena Kyle, I haven't seen you since you were Catwoman, you know, or something, or the smarter version of that. So you knew you were never going to get a Dark Knight Returns live action that looked or felt like the book. It would always be suggestive. I mean, you know, one could argue that the Nolan verse is very fucking suggestive of The Dark Knight Returns right up to the last part of it where Batman is gone for years and has a beard / mustache affair and Kane, and then takes off and comes back and faces a fucking strong dude who beats the fuck out of him and then he has to come back and rebeat that dude. I mean, you know, at one point he has this magic fucking leg brace. In The Dark Knight Returns, he has a magic fucking arm brace.
He does.
So, you could argue that, hey man, Nolan fucking got close to The Dark Knight Returns, you know, and he didn't seem to he seemed to borrow from the source material.
Right.
But you would never think that you would see something that got as close to the book as these two animated films do. I'm so glad I live in an age of magic and wonder where they can make this happen. I know some people are like, aren't you glad you live in a world where they cure simple diseases? And no. You put me back on the prairie so long as you give me a laptop with this fucking movie, and I'll face the gout or fucking chlamydia. I don't know what the diseases were back in the day.
Indians.
I'd face Native Americans if I have to. It is such a fantastic piece. We could gush forever, but what we're going to do is gush while it's fucking happening. Now, if you've never listened to one of these episodes where we do a commentary track, an unofficial commentary track, if you will, to the movie, what I'll do is I'll tell you when we're going to press play. Roll up, line up your start it up, man, right to the starting line. Dark Knight Returns. Part 2. You download it from iTunes. You can get it on DVD, Blu-ray. It is available everywhere right now. I don't know if it's Netflix, but it's probably streaming on Amazon. You can get it there. Everywhere. Get your hands on it. Line it up.
Come back.
And then we're going to tell you when we're going to start. And me and Mark are going to talk over it. Now, you're not going to hear the movie in the background because, well, that'd be distracting. And B, we don't own it. So we'll give you the lineup marks. And but based on, we're not going to be very screen descriptive. We tend to go into conversation, but we'll always tether you back to where we are in the movie. And there are moments that I will fucking be like, look at fucking this. One of my favorite things in the world right now. You go through phases and shit and fucking like if you had your own personal top 10, in my top 5 right now is the moment when Batman leaves the Batmobile to fight Superman. And, Robin goes, are you going to die or what? And he's like, I figure I will. And then he comes out the top of the tank, the driving score and how they depict this motherfucker running like a fucking roadrunner, like a bird. And he's this giant hulking Frank Miller version of Batman. I literally out loud went, oh, like I made an utterance of such joy, dude, because, you've read comics for years and you've seen Batman depicted moving in many different ways. This was, oh my God, that's how the Frank Miller Batman would move, like, cause he's this giant fucking Hulk of a man. And when they show him come out that tank and he jumps onto the ground and fucking dashes through the alley, and then the soldier's like, I've lost him, sir. And then the other one's like, don't worry, what's coming can't hide. He can't hide from what's coming. And then fucking Superman rolls in with the 2 government helicopters. So amazingly tits, like so fucking one of the greatest movie moments of all time. Just jumped onto that list for me. But that little shot, dude, of him leaping out of the Batmobile and fucking racing like a desert bird into the alleyway. I rewatched it so many times. It's quick. It's 3 seconds. And I wish to God they could do a half an hour of him jumping out of shit and running away. Just to, like, cause you sit there going, oh my God, look how fast he moves. This is astounding.
Welcome to the internet.
Oh God. I'm going to loop that shit over and over and over. Just get stoned and watch that. So there'll be moments like that where we jump in and gush. Expect lots of fucking love for the 2 amazing tentpole sequences in this movie. Tunnel of Love with the Joker, spellbinding, transcendent. And then in the last act, the fight with Superman. For years, people have been going, I want to see a Batman and Superman movie because I want to see them fight, which I've always thought was ridiculous and stupid. And also counterproductive to justice. I'm just saying, let's throw that out there. But in this movie, man, they give you I don't give a shit who makes the live action movie one day. You will never see a better Batman Superman fight rendered in media, animated or live action or television, than this, even comics, than the one that they get away with in The Dark Knight Returns. It's only about 10 minutes.
Yeah. But if you don't know, you don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
Which with a Superman fight, it's a thing.
And it's such a sheer delight for those that maybe don't follow the comics that closely, or, some people just know, oh, Batman and Superman from like movies or Justice League cartoons or whatever, or maybe even reaching further back to the Super Friends. They don't know about this like shitty relationship. Like in The Dark Knight Returns, that to me was an education. I'm reading this book in late 88. I'm reading The Dark Knight Returns and I'm like, they're not friends. They are friends, but it's just like, it's like one of them has lost absolute respect for the other. It's like, you fucking sold out. It's that, dude. It's like, you fucking sold out. And so they have a kind of contentious relationship that builds to this giant brawl. I mean, but Bruce is the only one with contention. Superman is just mellow and shit like that.
Because everything's beneath Superman.
And also, but he's an order taker. Like the way he's depicted, I remember reading that for the first time being like, oh shit, this is kind of I was going to say this is a real liberal view, but Frank Miller comes off as very conservative.
Yeah.
Especially when I reread it, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. And it's also very 80s. Like, that's why I think it's fantastic that they kept it set in the period. Like Reagan is still the president in Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, you can't update this. Like it just doesn't translate.
And even though it was made, and that's not to say it's locked in. You don't look at it and go like, oh, it's like an 80s movie, even though it was produced in the 80s. But it's timeless. When you read The Dark Knight Returns, even though it's very clearly set in an era when, fucking everyone got behind an insanely popular, conservative president who, was all about fucking might and right and shit like that. You would imagine that it would put it as really in time, fix it in time where you're like, oh, this feels fucking dated. It doesn't. Even though it's Reagan, every time I read it, it does. I mean, he's a fucking cartoon character at this point in the book. So it never pulls me out of it. I never go like, the fact that Miller pulled together his own language, slang with, Batman, he don't shiv and stuff like that. Billy Close, all that kind of crap. That it kind of also makes it timeless. Doesn't mire it and like, oh, they're like nobody's going tubular Batman. So it's a miracle. The Dark Knight Returns is like it's not just the high point of a career. It's the high point of a character. It'll stand the test of time. We'll be gone 100 years from now. Kids will still be reading and talking about this book. Adults will still be reading and talking about this book. So the fact that they made this animated flick out of it, the bar was high. They shot over the bar for me. And you're going to hear us as we roll into it. So line up your fucking videos, man. We're at the zero. I'm going to pull it right back to absolute zero. Story of my life. Absolute zero. We press play now. Here we go into The Dark Knight Returns. The logo is up, man. I was talking to the cats at the thing. Sounds like such a Jersey sentence. I was talking to those cats at the thing. I was talking to the folks at the premiere, for this from the Paley Center. And they were saying that even though the Warner Premiere label is going away, they're like, we don't want anyone confused. We're still doing these movies.
That was the mistake that I had made last time. I'm like, they're done.
Yeah, I got scared and shit. You put a lot of panic out there.
Apparently.
So it begins with the Sons of Batman. As we left off last time, Dark Knight Returns Part 1. Batman had just put the mutant leader down. And if you haven't seen it, you're just dumb. But you got to see it before you watch this. It's fantastic. They show a little clip of it here where he takes him down. He's busting his leg, I think, in a little news clip. People are still fighting, of course, about the return of the Batman. This represents book 3. If you know, the Dark Knight Returns, it was put out in 4 separate bookshelf or new format, or I guess prestige. That was right. It wasn't Baxter. It was the prestige format. Put out in 4 pieces. This Joker moment right here with the Joker watching, the special, watching the news special and the folks debating Batman. Again, would have happened way earlier. Like I believe it Joker comes out of his catatonic stupor, I think in book 1. I think I thought
it was like midpoint book 2.
Is it when he's like, Batman, darling? Here they do it at the end of the last part, which makes sense, well balanced. So when they start up again, they do this scene with Joker and Wolper. Wolper is the doctor. This is what I thought was weird, and I kind of talked about it at the Paley Center. In the Dark Knight Returns comic, Dr. Wolper always has that Superman S on his shirt. Yeah. Here, it's never there. So you're like, all right, maybe it had something to do with the fact that Warner Brothers and fighting with the estate of the Superman people, and they just, anything. But then again, you got Superman in it later. Right. For whatever reason, a style choice, they left it off. So they leave off the S, but they leave the fucking Nazi swastikas on Bruno with the naked boobs. Like, it's fucking crazy that they went for it and got away with it. We talked about it last time, going like, there's no way they can do those Nazi nipples.
This is for kids.
No. They were like, well, kids got to know. And they put these Nazi pinwheels on fucking Bruno's non-nipple chest. They kept everything loyal. David Endocrine show. In this, David Endocrine is portrayed by Conan O'Brien. And everything about it is kind of true. But as you watch it, like, I was sinking into the flick. Here it is. Like they do the flashback. And it looks like it's a different angle, like it was an angle of a cell phone camera or something like that. Go back and watch that scene though, where he's beating the fuck, where he finally gets the upper hand on him, where he's like, yeah, I'm a surgeon. I'm the surgeon. He breaks, at one point he breaks his fucking leg and you hear it. Like he pulls it back into a wrestling move and they cut away just as he collapses onto it. And you just hear this nasty crunch. And whenever I rewatch it, like I'm not a violent guy, but I love when Batman punches evil and it's fucking turkey neck when he breaks its leg. Like, oh, I can watch that all day. Like I don't like to watch things in pain, but if somebody was like, look, your new job is to watch Batman hurt people who've hurt others, I'd be like, oh my God, it's my dream job.
Yes. Can you catalog the bone breakage, please?
Oh,
done.
Could you, and then I could write dialogue or internal monologues for him where like there's 19 defensible working positions from
there are 212 bones in the human body.
Yeah, I've just broken 9 of yours.
The sound of this one breaking is a G sharp.
This is the moment where they kind of reveal, this through the legs, Mrs. Robinson Superman shot. That of course, exact moment wasn't in the book. It was, again, put together, by Mr. Goodman, but well done. Like, again, you got to know the source material incredibly well to see the strings and the glue that, put it back together in a way that's more presentable for a feature.
I can't imagine breaking the back of this story and making it a shape that feels like a movie. I mean, it's 4 books. Each book feels like its own story. But to both unite them and then divide them in a way that feels like it's an overall arc, that it's got the separate movie arcs, that it functions as drama.
Right.
And at a 90-minute length, like that's a hell of an adaptation.
And tall order, because you want to talk about pressure, like everyone's talking about J.J. Abrams, man. He's got a lot to live up to with Star Wars. Well, a lot of people would argue that after the last 3. Not really.
Yeah. No Jar Jar, you win.
There it is. Or opening scene. Misa here. Misa dead. Everyone's like, JJ forever.
Lens flare. Mic drop.
Credits. People are like, episode 7 was 2 minutes long, but it was way more satisfying than episodes 1, 2, and 3. People talk about the high bar of, he's got a lot to live up to. You're the writer of this. You're Bob Goodman. You sit down. And you're like, I gotta take the Bible essentially right. and turn it and then change it around. I gotta add in lines sometimes. You're taking liberties with the prettiest girl that ever lived, kind of, so to speak. And he was a gentleman. So, he didn't force her, metaphor's getting gross. He didn't force the Dark Knight Returns into a template that just, wouldn't work, didn't make sense. Even though he made changes, they're pretty fluid changes. You know what I'm saying?
I've got to wonder if how much boob jiggle can we have
in the cartoon?
Yeah.
That's true because as you look at her, she's topless with the exception of her swastika pasties. Yeah. So there must be conversations like they were talking about at the Paley. Bruce Timm was telling Jay, you got to pull out some of the stabs. Like at one point when spoilers, Joker is shivving Batman in the Tunnel of Love. He's like Jay talked about, like, that's why I did it. I couldn't wait. That was my favorite part of the book. He's going, when I think of the Dark Knight Returns, I think of Batman trying to break Joker's neck while Joker's just stabbing him repeatedly in the stomach. So he was like, I couldn't wait to get to that moment. Bruce Timm was like, I had to ask him to dial it back because he had like 9 stabs in there. He's like, 2 would probably do it and stuff. So there is a degree of like, hey man, we are making an adult cartoon, but let's be reasonable about this. I wonder if there was a jiggle count
where it's like, okay, how much suspension can we have on these things?
Yeah. Like that's too high. Like I clearly see it went up and went down.
Yeah. No, you can't have that gulf.
It's almost like she's wearing a bodysuit. I love the Carrie Kelly Robin, man. And, they do it a lot more in this. I think it maybe happens 2 times in the book. I think they do it maybe 1 more time in the feature where he goes, do this or you're fired.
Right.
They did it once in the first part and then they do it a couple times here. Once again, we saw another, insert of the old comic books from the era, and a few from the older Justice Leagues as well, as Superman, kind of sped past the magazine stand. This character, Bruno, man, if you don't know it, is it's a chick. Mm-hmm. B, she's the Joker's chick. Like they refer to her as the Joker, like Joker's fucking her in the book. And that's why Batman's going after her for information. Spoilers. This old lady who is complaining about the prices at the 7-Eleven, which she does in the book, and they had to change the line a little bit for the movie. That's Batman. He's in disguise still at this point. So for some people who are like, what the fuck why are these two old people? There's two women fighting. That's Batman. And of course, we're going to see Superman make his appearance here. This, I was thinking about this scene because I've watched this movie about 15 times now. Wouldn't it make more sense for Superman to grab the person off the track than to fucking stop the train? Because think about it. Like 3 people felt this guy's blind. Can't get up. Pick up that guy. Instead, Superman, is faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, stops that fucking train, and you see the impression he makes. Very cool shot, very cool moment where you're like, holy shit, man. Big Blue is in Gotham. Every motherfucker on that train has gone like thousands of feet in the air forward and slammed into walls.
Massive property damage and proof that Superman still exists. Like, really? Come on, Big Blue. You got to do better than this.
Soon, Ronald Reagan is going to have a conversation with Superman about, like, you got to take out that Superman. He's being too loud. But Superman always doing the right thing. This is tits right here, man. It clears, and then could you imagine? Look, he doesn't even fucking move. Like, they found a way to do Superman cool. Superman's a tough character to do cool because it's kind of like doing Jesus. And Jesus is tough to do cool as well. He's got a lot of powers and stuff. And, ultimately, he can do anything. And so how do you write a story for that? There's one fucking, like Jesus, Jesus has the cross. Superman's got kryptonite. That's his fucking weakness and shit. But other than that, I love this too, dude. He just fucking punched a woman in the face in a kid's cartoon, man. Like, that's not, and granted, she's a bad woman and she's fucking a killer. And look, the swastikas on the titties alone warrant a punch in the face, but that's fucking intense. It's so weird, man. That little moments like this, I missed from the voiceover, the internal monologue. Not so much where I'm like, it's ruined, but I love the line in the book where he's like, something hurls itself into the sky. And he's talking about Superman. I forgot about the Warren Corto
I totally
Maltese.
did too. It's
until
like, there's a thing here.
And if you look at the book, the Warren Corto Maltese, like Superman fighting the ships, like maybe a panel, maybe 2, and glorious panels. But the luxury you have in doing a feature, and even an animated feature, and particularly because I guess it's an animated feature, they go deeper. Like, you watch the war happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's the like 2 or 3 panels leading up to it. Then I think it's a splash of Superman and the lightning and the sort of withered Man of Steel.
That's after the bomb goes off, after he pushes the nuke away.
Right, but like that's about all you get from Corto Maltese.
And the sequence that they do with him here in the movie, like, I'm just warning you, fucking light a joint, because it's trippy. It's really good. Like when they show Superman, quote unquote, like dying or whatever after the bomb goes off, after the lightning hit, and they got some trippy music going. It's a little psychedelic.
We're going into the portal.
But believe me, I watch it stoned. I watch everything stoned, all of life now. But I was naturally a little more emotional because I was smoking. But again, I can't undersell this or oversell this enough. This book is, I said it at the Paley Center. It's like The Catcher in the Rye of comic books. Like, it is de rigueur. It is the one you've got a curled up copy of in your back pocket for all time. Once you read it, it really takes you someplace. I don't know why, because I'm not a fucking crusader of justice. I really just connected at a young age. Don't know. Maybe just because it's a compellingly well-told tale of the story of this guy who's just like, something really bad happened to me when I was a kid, and now I can't escape it. So I might as well embrace it. And him going away, the fact, him giving up or stopping and then coming back. It's a reunion story of sorts. It's, born again. It's maybe the Catholic in me. It's appealing because there's a sense of right over wrong and justice for the meek and somebody standing up and shit. But it's my favorite book of all time.
I mean, I think for me, it gives you what no other superhero story gives you, which is an ending. Superhero stories are always second acts. They're always like these prolonged conflict that never get any real resolution. And so this was the first time you got, this is how this dude's story ends, and it ends well, and it ends on his terms, and that's the victory of a life.
That's why Mark Bernardin's in the chair right now.
What?
You see everything. That's an excellent point, sir. It's true, man. You're like, oh my God, we're finally going to know what happens. It's not like you close it and go like, well, they'll be facing the Penguin next time. No, it's just down and out.
Yeah, like great legends need endings.
And this, perhaps the best legend ending story ever written. I guess Alan Moore did a really nice job with Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Right.
If you ever read that two-parter. But this is the be all end all final story.
Right. Can we take a moment for Fabio Superman?
Yes.
Because it was kind of ridiculous in the book, but like the eagle landing on his arm.
Dude, I watched it with people. Like I saw it, of course, by myself many times, but at the Paley Center, we watched it with an audience. When they cut to the shot of him standing there, the audience immediately laughed. And when the eagle landed, everyone laughed and clapped. Like it is a bizarre image in the book, but at the same time, it communicates so much because you're like, this is the first time you spend any real time with Superman in the book. And he's young. Like, we're used to seeing old Bruce Wayne. And the story here is like the Kryptonian doesn't age. He still looks like a boy and stuff. So right away, the image of him standing proudly, looking like Fabio, looking like a fucking, I can't believe it's not butter commercial. And with the eagle, they added this little fucking, moment with the rat, I think, with the eagle grabbing the rat or the mouse. When they communicated in the book, you're just like, right on, man. Like, fucking, I get it.
He's the picture of Americana.
He is. If you believe like him, well, not for me, dude, because I don't have a shirt open. I don't have a waist. I don't have any of the things he has. Birds don't like me.
You don't have the Beastmaster powers of Clark Kent.
Yeah, that bird just landed on him. And he was so unafraid and shit.
Yeah. He's like giving it orders.
Both him and the bird. I love that he's still got the spit curl, man. Frank Miller. There's a Kurt Swan moment that ends the Superman story in Dark Knight Returns that we'll see later on. But he kind of kept the spit curl there the whole time. And it was, if you're going to homage any Superman,
right?
Homage the winking, spit curling Kurt Swan Superman.
I love that he shows up with his glasses still on.
Yeah.
Like really, A, he knows who you are, and B, you're half naked to the waist.
Totally.
Like calling down eagles from the sky.
Yeah. He's just like, I can't, who are you behind those glasses?
It's a nearsightedness thing.
Here's one of those moments, man. This reminded me of the Iron Man sequence in, when Tony Stark in the movie, when Tony Stark goes and just fucking
to Brownistan.
Yes. The Brownistan. And he's like, he's all yours. This sequence is him picking up the tank was in the book.
Right.
You'll see lots of like, hero moments in the Dark Knight Returns, both part 1 and 2. That are literal, I wouldn't say facsimiles, but they're so suggestive. You'll look at a moment happening and go, oh my God, I've seen that before. Like that's a panel from the book.
Right. And
they get damn close doing it. It's for a second. They don't freeze really or anything. And probably the most heinous or the one that they shine the biggest light on is in part 1 when the cops are racing after the robbers in the cars that come from the bank, the Two-Face heist. And, when the cop goes, oh, so we're in for a show tonight, son. They actually, in the book, their cops are just looking forward. You don't see what they're looking at until a page later. You open the splash page, and that's when you see him as Batman in the outfit, full page splash for the first time.
The windows of baptism on my chest.
Yes. Oh, such a good. This should be agony, but it's so great. But in the book, in the movie, they show the lightning bolt cover from issue 1 of Batman, and it is kind of like. Oh, I loved it. It's so like, it's kind of like product placement, but I'm so glad they slowed down for 2 seconds just to be like, remember this fucking image, motherfucker? Because the image of Batman silhouetted against a lightning blast, man, that just like fills me with 8 kinds of happy. Okay, we're ignoring the show. I love that line when he's just like, there's nothing better. When she's like, I'm sure she's got better shit to do. I'm sure Alfred didn't say shit. But he's like, there's nothing better. He's just, Peter Weller did such a really great job in this, man. He talked about it much more eloquently in the last podcast. Go back and listen to it. But he did such a fucking tits job on it. Here's one controversial thing that, they had to include. You couldn't go away from it. But I never liked, and even in the books, the fucking talking dolls that can fly.
Yeah.
I'll go with this is future Batman story. So like in the future, some shit's possible. I know this is weak sauce to be the guy that's like, I'll believe mind control lipstick. I'll believe fucking like, the fucking bat wing that they leap through the window and grab onto and fucking rob that, like that they can use that'll just hover and wait for him there. I'll believe so many things. I'll believe in the bat tank. I'll believe that the tank has a neck that does that shit. I'll believe that it's got a gyro stabilized fucking stretcher just in case.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
These are fucking Cabbage Patch dolls that talk and move.
And fly.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's my only what the fuck moment with Frank Miller. If I ever got to talk to him, I'd be like, where'd those fucking dolls come from?
Like if Bruce Wayne with, tens of years and hundreds of millions of dollars can't figure out how to fly, how does this fucking dude in his shack down by the river invent flying bomb dolls?
That in the book have conversations with you.
Right.
That can interact with you. And even in here in the movie, they can interact. They don't talk, but they interact with expressions and shit.
Flying AI talking bomb dolls.
If that was so easy, Bruce Wayne years ago wouldn't have a real life Robin. He would just make Robin robots.
Yeah. Batman robots.
Yeah, he'd be like, I'm not going out anymore. No, he loves it, dude. Remember, there's nothing better. He wouldn't let a robot replace him. This is an awesome sequence. This is an awesome moment where he says, touch anything and you're fired. But that cape would be up in the rotors right now.
Pretty much.
And he'd be dead. But I love that. Batman is the motherfucker who will jump out. Do you get it? He's a billionaire. He doesn't have to do this shit, people. And he'll jump out of a helicopter, man, just to fucking potentially stop the Joker. He knows, it's not even potential. He knows what the Joker's going to do. Look at this shot, dude. Bang. Punch him in his fucking neck. Bang, bang. In the book, he's just like, cops. I haven't had to fight cops in a while. Watch this shit, man. Bang, bang. I love this when he reaches down and grabs and tosses these pellets in his hand, which is like, Batman, freeze.
These are
Look at this. Look at the grab. Boom. This guy's having the fucking time of his life.
But these are also the worst cops that you've ever seen.
Gotham has the worst cops.
Yeah, but I mean, there's like 14 dozen of them, and they're all just shooting at nothing.
And why they're shooting at all is beyond me. Look at him. Bang. Batman is fucking the guy that like punches two dudes in the face and whips an exploding batarang into the fucking muzzle of your gun. This is what I love about Batman. It's all muscle memory. Like the fact that he goes through that many people. And remember, this is a man who hasn't been working in 10 years. His whole life, he's designed himself to be this fucking weapon of justice. So when he hits a rooftop and people have fucking machine guns, bang, 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 bang. He just does, shortly does away with them in such short order. It baffles my mind how the Joker later gets the better of him and shoots him in the fucking gut.
Yeah, but you can tell though that he's like a little bit slower. Like there's a plodding ruthlessness there.
Yeah.
So he's heavy on his feet. Like he's kind of moving his way through and I'm going to get you. I'll be there. But
he's like fucking Red Fox. Like, oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming, Elizabeth. I'm sorry. Bat Sanford. That moment right there with the Joker holding back the curtain with his head held high, that's straight out Miller's work. But I forgot, dude, when I was watching this the first time, I was like, did they create, oh, look at him, dude. Even when he's beating up fucking cops, I love him. Love him so much. Even when I'm watching this, I was going, I don't remember that. And then I remember it's like 2 panels or something like that. But in a movie, you get to do like a full, like at this point, you're Bob Goodman. And you're like, fuck, I'm gonna have a good time, man. And you're just like, Batman punches a cop in the face. Batman punches another cop in the face. That's a scene I want to write. And then this whole thing is going on. And of course, this is the moment in the book where Robin learns to rewire the fucking
blow.
Yeah. Peel. Yeah. Billy Close. And my favorite, Ace the Cloak. I love that in the book. This is, and as much as I don't like the flying dolls, I love this moment. Like that shot of them coming in out of profile and the score, that Chris Drake's score is fucking astounding. One of my favorite scores of all fucking time. I can't wait to get my hands on it and just listen to it. There is a inclusion in this scene, which, is kind of, if you're going to add something, it's one thing to take thing away and move things around within the structure. To add something to The Dark Knight Returns takes a lot of fucking balls, and you better be sure what you're doing fits in the world, because otherwise people are going to be like, hey, it's
no,
like,
that doesn't go.
He does something coming up in the scene, which I'm like, oh, that's fucking a nice addition, and makes the Joker fucking even more crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like in the book, the Joker just, as you see the dolls are coming, the Joker just gasses the place. But here he takes it much more personal.
I'm going to get that dude.
Yeah. and do it in a really, in a psychotic way, like a way where you're just like, oh yeah, this dude is fucking nuts. It was always such a weird, and here it begins with him asking about the mug. Cause I remember watching this going like, that didn't happen in the book. And then within 2 seconds, bang, that's fucking worth it, dude. He cut that fucker's neck open with a broken mug. Now, we should probably shout out at this point. Oh, but see, and even though I don't like those dolls, dude, I like this whole sequence, awesome. And I like this. I like them going back and forth with all the gas and shit. And again, at least they did the right thing. They don't have them talk. In the book, they fucking talk, dude. They interact, and they call the fucking dude that makes them mean names. He's a heavy dude, and that always bugged me.
Why would you invent talking robots that can fly who'll also give you sass?
You gotta fucking hate yourself to fucking like, I'm gonna program them with insults. This sequence, there's a moment too coming up, when he finally succumbs, and you see the wide shot that's also reminiscent of the book as well. But in the book, if you remember, the Joker is sitting on top of, remember, Joker's sitting on top of one of the fucking dolls, flying through the audience. Like, thank God they didn't do that. But let's give it up for the great Michael Emerson.
I can't imagine like that kind of hurdle. Like, you've got to be the Joker.
Yeah.
After a half dozen awesome Jokers.
And people know you as fucking Ben Linus, like one of the most watched television shows of all time.
Yeah. Like, that was just an almost insurmountable challenge, and he fucking surmounted it like a boss.
And how he surmounted it is by going like, I'm going to play it like Paul Lynn. In places, he sounds like fucking Paul Lynn. This sequence, I love so much. In the book, they blow the tires away and stuff. But this is the boosters. Boosters. He handles that, dude, because I remember that in the book where he says boosters twice. And his delivery here is when you hear him say it, you're just like, oh man. They added this moment where she talks about like, the Joker's gone, so they can provide a little information. But this dude's they've just been firing guns at this fucker, and he just comes and sits down all calmly.
Just,
peel. Water. They used a little bit of 3D in this shot. Very nice. Added a lot of motion to it. Sparkle motion. I love this relationship. This is my favorite Robin, the Carrie Kelly Robin. They kind of modeled Tim Drake on her a little bit because Carrie Kelly is born as Robin by observation. She trains on her own. She watches from afar. The moment where they don't even do this in the book because I rewatched part 1. I love it so much. You watch these back to back and it's fucking mind bending. She comes and helps Batman at the dump, but she's not an active part of the fight against the mutants. What they do in the movie is as the Batmobile is charging down the hill, she's like racing beside it and fucking kicking. It's going to make me cry. I love it so much. This chick wants to do the right thing. Yeah. And she's there at the right moment. She takes the fucking mutant's eyes out and shit so Batman can throw the gunk at him.
It's like she's Athena who crawls fully formed out of Zeus's head. Like, you just, bam, here I am. I'm born to be your buddy.
Poetic. And he recognizes in her the innocence of youth. You know what I'm saying? And most people, it's a predatory. This is a tit sequence. We're not even talking about Superman taking out the ships. So that's fucking weird, man. When you think about it now, in this current comic, Superman is like, I don't say truth, justice, and the American way anymore because he's like, I belong to the world. In Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, he clearly belongs to America.
He's an American puppet.
Oh, big time, man. And that was dope, man. He splits the fucking aircraft carrier. Here we go to the Kyle escorts for the first time and see,
Kyle MacLachlan, you're running an escort service.
Yeah. He's like, Twin Peaks, man. I was waiting for that reunion. Didn't pan out. Did you hear they might be doing a Twin Peaks reunion?
Really?
Yeah. Like a television show again. Okay. Twin Peaks 20 years later. I'm in, dude.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I can handle that much weird anymore.
Oh my God. We're ready for the weird, man. And also it's just reunion time. The mind control lipstick is another thing in the book, which again, I have no problem with. I have a problem with the talking dolls that fly. But like when they do this, I'm like, yeah, of course he's got mind control lipstick.
Like Cleopatra had mind control lipstick.
There's a really sweet moment in this where, I mean, it's kind of nice because there's a reunion moment here. Hey, that's Catwoman and Joker.
Yeah. Except he kind of like mouth rapes her.
Yeah. Oh God, that's horrible. What a fucking, what a horrible term. There's the sweetness of, oh, there's a reunion moment. But then there's kind of like he obviously kept in shape and she obviously did not. But there's a really sweet moment. It's one of these things as a fat person makes you love Batman even more. Later on, when Batman busts in and whatnot and he unties her and shit, he kisses her before he fucking leaves. Does it in the book and he does it in the movie. In the book, early on in the book, you hear messages in Wayne Manor and there's one that says, Bruce, it's Selena. I'm lonely. So clearly, he's been booty calling for a long time, but he fucking like, she's, just been beaten. You don't know what the Joker did to her. Obviously she's been beaten and fucked up in some way. And he fucking makes her feel pretty before he gets out of there. That's a fucking hero, dude. You know what I'm saying? He gives her a kiss. He's telling her, he's taking care of her. But at the same time, he's just like, you Billy Joel, dude, man. He's like, you're always a woman to me. And he fucking plants one on her, man. And she's a heavy woman. So number one, Batman, chubby chaser.
Doesn't mind the curves.
That's a guy that I can get behind, man. He's like, look, I'm in shape enough for all of us. So I don't care what you look like. It's all pink in the dark. So this is this moment here, man, is one of my favorites coming up in the actual animated feature. There's a quick shot. It's dopey as fuck, man. This is in the book too. The dude gets kissed and he's fucking like, we gotta fucking invade Corto Maltese. This dude here who does the news report, he is also the voice of the mutant leader in part 1.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? So listen to his voice right now and then go back and listen to the mutant leader. And dude's got at least 2 different shades he can play, man.
There's a newscaster, that black dude there. His name was Ben Derrick. He's named, according to Bob Goodman, for 2 writers on Warehouse 13 that Bob Goodman works on, Ben Robb and Derek Hughes.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Piece of inside info.
He didn't drop me a name, but whatever.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
Seriously.
Where's the fucking respect?
We've been mouth jobbing him for like 4 hours now.
I know. Enough of him. You know who did this? Bruce Timm. So this moment here, of course, if you've never seen it before, that is fucking Batman. The moment that's coming up that I love is when Batman is coming up right now, man. Batman and Robin, Batman kicks in the door. They run into Kyle Escorts and they pull back into a wide and you see Batman and Robin standing together. Watch. One of my favorite things in the world right here. That is fucking all I want in this world. Batman and Robin to be out there kicking in doors and punching fuckers in their necks and breaking their legs and fucking saying shit like, he's young, he'll walk again. All is right with the world. Oh God, I love it so much. Look at that, man. She's literally got stalls. Like, that's a fucking whorehouse. It's not Kyle Escorts. There's stalls with curtains.
Now,
so you're hearing people fuck right next to you.
Here's a question. Does he kiss her because he loves her? Does he kiss her because she's dressed as Wonder Woman?
Oh, it ain't that, man. Look, he's hugging her. He's going, I'm so sorry this happened to you and shit. It can't be.
I love you, Diana.
I can't. Yeah. She's like, oh, Bruce, you dick. I had such a terrible night. That makes it worse. I think it's because he's well, again, they intimate in the book that they've been friendly when fucking. They've been fucking ever since, but not on a reg. Just like, hey man, I'm lonely tonight. Come on over. But I think he does it because in this moment, she's like, fucking, who knows what happened to her? Especially when she's like, don't take the girl. Like, that's a fucked up line. I remember reading that, but there it is, dude. I love this too, where he pushes it right in the fucking chest. And she's like, what the fuck? She has this reaction where she's holding her chest like, this fucker just punched me. This thing I didn't like right here, one of my only complaints. One of my favorite moments in the book is Batman. I love this. This is fantastic. And they did this ace perfectly. The dialogue in the book is him going like, she doesn't make a sound. And then he only says good soldier when he picks her up here. But in the book, man, he fucking grabs Robin and hurls them both through the glass. In the movie, they both jump through and I loved him grabbing. This begins the fucking Tunnel of Love sequence. The score, as you hear, kicks in. No, you'll notice it plays forever until the moment of truth in the Tunnel of Love. In the book, there was a shot of, after this, of dead Cub Scouts laying around. I assume they probably took it out because of, this fucking, we're following Sandy Hook rather closely.
Right.
But they said, oh, I love this one. He's here. Oh, fucking yeah. This is the first time fucking Batman is seeing the Joker in The Dark Knight Returns.
With a tingle in my balls.
But
Joker's
look,
here.
dancing dolls.
What the fuck?
But I'll go with it in this moment because the score is so amazing. The way it's laid out is fantastic. The performances are great. Fucking him, his glee at seeing Batman, even this shit, popping the button and going up. I love Batman going like, wait till it's closer. Like that looks like something out of fucking,
it's like Iron Giant.
A little bit, right?
Yeah.
This is, I'll go with it. For some reason, I don't like the talking dancing dolls, but I'll buy them in this scene. And look, she's reacting, dude. Who programs a doll to be like, I better give her a reaction in case her brother doll dies? But I'll go with it, man. It's fantastic. And this motherfucker just pulls out his gun and starts fucking shooting. Like this is, I love this so much. I'm trying not to go silent and just fucking watch it. Look how fast he is, man. And he just like they haven't seen each other in 10 fucking years. And they go right into the dance where he fucking bang, bang, bang. And then he starts whipping fucking batarangs at him. I dig this. The Ascension, this fucking creeper. Oh, this is fantastic. Watch the Batman tuck and roll. Boom, fucking comes in and I wish I was Batman. This is fantastic. I remember reading this in the book and going nuts.
In the eye.
Are you out of your mind? I wish they'd gone and said fucking in there at one point. Listen to this, dude. I'm through playing Joker. Oh, shit. If you'll notice, he pulls the batarangs out of his shoulders in the next few scenes. He keeps the one in his fucking eye the whole time.
A souvenir.
Totally. That's tits, though. You've reading Batman, you've known Batman your whole life, and you're reading The Dark Knight Returns, and suddenly he fucking whips a batarang, chunks it into his eye. Look how fucking they have Joker just punching motherfuckers. Bang. Watch him punch his lady, man. This is nuts. Bang. Like, that's evil, dude. Like, that is unlike any other Joker we've ever been presented before, man. And he's just firing. This is madness. And I could defend him getting shot later on because the point of the Joker-Batman relationship is Joker's so fucking unpredictable. Batman, can't fucking always guess where he's going and shit. So he does get the better of him in a few seconds. This is an homage to, the Bruce
Enter
Lee
the
movie.
Dragon.
Oh yeah. Enter the Dragon. It's really fucking sweet. And the music, once again, I can't fucking overstate it enough. The score in this scene is fantastic, but all the pacing, the performance, everything is great. Watch him fucking come through the glass and put the Joker's head into the mirror. And then watch how quickly the Joker puts the gun in his face and watch Batman disappear when the bullet hits the glass. Look at that. It's I love that so much. I love it when he punches him in the fucking face, dude. Everything about this scene is fucking fantastic. And watch this. The giggles and he's fucking lackadaisically firing. Awesome. And
the
boom,
legs
Batman.
flapping.
Oh,
the legs flapping are my favorite.
It's so fantastic. They added this little moment here where he's throws the fucking mirrors on. He takes a shot, boom, but he hits the thing. And now he's out of bullets. No more bullets. So he goes for the fucking run. Because at that moment, you're like, why didn't he just get the better of him? There's a moment in the book that I do miss where the kid's like, hey, Batman, go kick the Joker's at. And Batman goes, son, watch the language. But things are moving so well at this point, you can totally let it go. This is a great moment, man. Great action with the wind blowing behind the fucking coaster. It looks like the coaster in the book as well. This is a slight change from the book in as much as he gets decapitated by a moving car, but they do something even better here. And it's weird, dude. You look at like this giant man is trying to strangle like a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, man. Like, and it's so weird. We take it for granted, but like, that's compelling. That's what makes it so fucking amazing when you're watching it. You're like, this little girl's going to get the better of this hulking fucking giant who's probably a pederast. I'm just going to throw it out there. Making bombs and shit, but he obviously has some issues.
He's making little talking robot dolls with sass.
Yeah, with attitude that will do things and talk to him. Joker stabbing fucking people left and right. You don't see the stab, but you're going to see him stab fucking Batman, I assure you. This is where things get so unbelievable. The fact that they went with this, bang, dude, watch the body count.
Yeah.
And again, in a post, like, I don't mean to be sensitive, but in a post Sandy Hook world, I'm shocked that they went for it. I'm glad they went for it. They honored the material and they're like, hey man, look, people get shot. Like, we're sorry, but this is part of the story. It's so fucking fantastic to watch. And I'm not a violent guy, like a fan of violence.
Bodies in the water, just floating.
Because it justifies what he's about to do, man. Like, Batman doesn't fucking kill no matter what. But like when you hear Peter Weller get to the moment when it's coming up where he's like, no more. I want that to be my ringtone, dude. Every time someone calls me, no more. Watch him punch, lose that fucking gun. Bap. And then now I sound like the Batman TV show. Listen. Oh, come on. No more. And then just whips this dude should be dead, man. Kicks him in the fucking face. And this was a line that was internal in the book where he's like, all the people I murdered just by letting you live. And here they have him say it out loud. And it actually fucking works. This is nuts, dude. The staging of it is fantastic. When the knife comes out, man, you're just like, they're not going to go for it. He's not going to fucking stab him. They stab him. He stabs, and watch the blood fucking come out and the sinew. Like, it's
at once. Should we count how many?
Well, that's the slash across.
Right.
Here he gets the better of him, which, come on, let's be honest, that would never happen. But maybe Batman's giving it to him and shit, so they can punch him in the fucking face. These are new lines that Bob Goodman wrote about, like, you're going to fall asleep before we're done. Which is good because at least he's having the Joker make jokes. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever does that and shit. But here it comes. The knife's going to come out. And watch his eye, man. His eye goes all fucking shrinky like he's getting stoned. Bang. Bang. Look at that sinew that comes out. And Bruce Timm said he went for like 2 more times. And then, he was like, you should really rein it back. In the book, there's a slight difference here. And, in the internal monologue here, he's like, I hear someone scream monster or something like that. But they play it here with people's reaction. In the book, it ends with the Joker being like he says some shit to him here, which totally makes sense. But in the book, he says something more to the effect of like, they'll never know that you didn't have the courage to do it. Like that he had to do it himself. And spoilers, if you don't know what's about to happen, the Joker will snap his own fucking neck. And, they kept the see you in hell and stuff. But make me and finish me and stuff like that, that's add-ons. And not, in a bad way. It just makes it a little different approach, movie approach, if you will.
The neck snapping is so like anime. There's something so like thin and awful and fragile
look at
about it.
See the Joker, vision of the Joker there.
Yeah.
Like, I think what Jay went for is there's a moment when Batman's fighting Two-Face and he looks at him and, when he's like, look at me and have your laugh. And he does the Batman POV and Batman sees him as Harvey sees himself. I think that moment right there, because that one depiction of the Joker looks different than any other side of that shot. And they go off of Batman's look and then to that Joker face. I want to ask him, like, was that a Batman POV? Like, this is how I see these fuckers the same way. This is how I saw Harvey. I can't believe they did the nice blackout, man. That's where the book ends. And then the next book begins. They even included the spit shot, dude. In the book, Batman goes, I waste a second with a goodbye and then fucking spits in his face. And it's so awesome because you're like, he hated this fucking dude. Like, so much so that even though he's dead, he's like, fuck you. And he spit in his face, man. It's like, I chop your head off. I fucking throw it at you.
Yeah. But like now this is the point where Batman can sort of begin to think about retirement for real.
You think so?
Because like that was his great nemesis. That's his great foe. Like
That's
after
true.
this, it's Superman is my last hurdle to riding off into the sunset. But
he's cleaning up. He's closing up shop.
But my work here is done. I'm settling all family business.
Batman is a character who will put incendiaries on a body and let cops like fucking get blown up and shit so he can get out of a place. As you watch this sequence, think of how much money and property damage has been spent just so one man can escape being arrested or in this instance killed. I love this shit though, man. Once again, he pulls no punches with women, man. I mean, that's gotta be a weird Frank Miller thing, but he goes after, he punches fucking Ellen Yindel. He's like, nice, cute gun, and just takes it with him. This is a moment that they've kind of reorganized, but it's very much in keeping with what's in the book. He's got to hit the explosive, send off the charge, and seeing Batman hold a gun is just weird. But since he's so good at everything, you'd imagine he'd be a good shot as well. They kept the stop laughing moment, moved that to someplace later. He's still got the fucking batarang in his eye. And it's kind of insane, dude. Like he's being hunted by cops. He's trying to hit that target, but he has enough presence of mind, probably because he's losing blood or whatever, to stop and fucking be like, talk to a burning husk of a corpse. Be like, stop laughing. He's clearly not laughing. Batman once again escapes, man, beating the fuck and whatnot. Batcopter, which they didn't go out of their way to make anything different. I think that's kind of a callback to in book 1 when he sees the 2 helicopters. He goes, I got to buy me one of those. Right. And then I think this may actually be that. Watch Batman's escape sequence. The way this is designed, animated, the movement.
The choreography is great.
Oh, it's beautiful. And he is constant. Once he starts moving, he's constantly moving, and his speed, even if he's walking or stumbling, is pretty impressive, man. They found a really great way. Again, you see the Frank Miller Batman. This is a nice shot right here, man, when missiles go off where she's hanging out the side of the copter. Look at all the blood, dude. They fucking got blood galore in this thing. This motherfucker's, I'm going to get Batman. No, I'm going to get Batman. He's like, Jesus Christ. Watch this. Pajang. That's a nice shot right there.
Dick out of the way.
Property damage. Like this thing's been programmed to hit a bunch of things and not human beings and whatnot. But think about it. Look at him move, and it's coming up more. It's in this wide as he kind of goes across the field to get to the Batcopter. We've seen the Frank Miller Batman book for 25 years, however long the book's been out. You don't know how, nobody had to make a move. So these guys had to be like, how does this version of Batman move? How big is he is? And you talk about the plotting and whatnot. He has weight to him.
Yeah.
But he moves like maybe a fucking gymnast or a wrestler or something like that, or an old boxer. but like he's look at those. He's got my thighs. They're fucking childbearing hips. This sequence I dig, man, with the rope comes out and she fucking lassos him and essentially Robin saves Batman, just as Robin's job has always been, to be, the monkey wrench in the works. This sequence, I thought they did a fantastic job with. And when I think about it from the book, I don't think about it as being like this epic escape, but they, in a movie, you got more time and they turned it into something.
Like my memory of the book is just, he gets out of the tunnel of love and then you're done.
Yeah.
Because everything else is not to say perfunctory, but he's going to get away.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And here they're like, well, let's see how we got
to
away.
build a scene out of it is really smart.
It is smart. And it also shows you something that you don't really get to see in the comic books ever, which is like movement. How this massive muscle in a cape and tights and a mask, how he fucking with the boots and the gloves and fucking the utility belt. The utility belt alone looks like fucking weighs 40 pounds.
Right.
How does this dude move? And they gave him proper weight. They gave him, I love it. And you'll see it again in that moment I was talking about earlier when he pops out of the Batmobile and goes racing into the alleyway. I'm redundant, but like it makes me so emotional because I'm like, I can't believe somebody imagined that for me. Somebody filled in the gaps and showed me what that would look like.
Yeah. I mean, it gives him his age.
Yes.
Like you get to see, and it shows you the force of will this guy has to make this body that shouldn't be able to do this stuff anymore, do this stuff. It's like every step is agony, even if he won't admit it.
We should give a shout out to David Selby plays, Commissioner Gordon. And Commissioner Gordon, I think what they pointed out on the panel, once Commissioner Gordon retires, he's not really in book 3 and 4. So they moved stuff around and kind of like we see Commissioner Gordon when the missile goes off, he's, putting out fires, but him and Batman don't interact really at all. So, it's when you look at it, it's kind of like the story of Batman and Commissioner Gordon as the feature's done.
Right.
About kind of, Commissioner Gordon's our way in almost more than Batman to some degree. Although maybe that's wrong. Batman is the way in. He's the key character. We're always seeing things through his perspective, but Commissioner Gordon is such a major component in it. The guy who's playing him, David Selby, did a really great job, man. He just brought, and not to say that anybody who's ever played Gordon before, this is a shot from the book too, man. And this is like, he's like 20 million die if I am weak. Mm-hmm. Moments like that, the dialogue like that, internal monologue like that, I wish was there, but you can't put that line into his mouth. He's stopping a missile. He would never be like 20 million die if I am weak. So it has to go away. You serve the greater good. Corto Maltese, man. Where is it?
Unclear.
Looks like it's off Manhattan on the East Coast. But for whatever reason, it's got to be off Gotham because when the fucking missile goes off, Gotham is affected as well.
Like, is it like Governor's Island or something? Like, where's it supposed to be?
Like, if it's Governor's Island, why does it have such an ethnic sounding name, man?
Yeah, that's where we put all the Puerto Ricans.
Corto Maltese.
The Italian Puerto Ricans.
Are we a state yet? The Italian Puerto Ricans. So there's a lot of shit blowing up in The Dark Knight Returns, man. And I think this was the my first introduction to the EMP device, to the electromagnetic pulse, which every movie uses
pretty
now.
Much.
Oh, even fucking like Judd Apatow movies have an electromagnetic pulse plot line in them now. Everybody does the EMP blast. But this was the first time I ever remember hearing it or hearing the notion of like and Frank Miller explains it very well. This is that sequence we were talking about.
Riding on the storm.
Totally, right? Play some Doors and just watch it, man. It is very mellow, very psychedelic. The beautiful thing about the animated movie is that there are some moments that are rendered where when you read them in the book or looked at them in the book, you're like, oh, is that what's happening? Right. There's one at the end of the movie. Like for life of me, I've been reading The Dark Knight Returns for 20 years. The last image of Alfred in the book, I always thought was Alfred falling from a cliff because it looks like there are rocks falling and he's in this weird position, but it's an overhead shot of him collapsed on the ground.
Right.
And it took me 20 years in seeing this to be like, oh, that's what happened.
There it is.
I mean, I knew he had a stroke, but I thought like the fucking foundation gave away and he was tumbling. I was like, what a way to die. Why would Batman let that happen to him? But, he had a stroke instead, which I mean, that's one thing I always wish like he would have I'm sure Batman felt bad, but like one fucking nod in the Alfred Pennyworth Memorial Tunnel or something in the end, you know, he's his best friend for fucking years. And he doesn't see him die. He's not there with him when he dies. He's dead too. So he's buried and shit like that. And then he gets dug up.
No goodbye for Alfred.
Yeah.
That's kind of fucked up.
But he has a really nice moment in here in the movie. Like they give him a kind of quiet looking at the young pictures of the young Wayne family before all the tragedy and shit.
He dies of a broken heart.
Kind of. Well, you know, what happens is when the manor goes up, when he destroys the manor, you know, the stroke hits. And that's when he's like, in the book, he's like, it's all just so very proper. Because once Wayne Manor's gone, there's no need for Alfred anymore. You would think. I mean, you know, you don't want to carry no old man around in the sewers and shit like that.
He could put him in a backpack like Yoda.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Could you imagine? Yeah, like give him like, look, all this technology. You could build yourself a fucking suit that's strong enough to fight Superman. Cut this guy a fucking wheelchair, a little rascal or something. Like this place is huge. And
Segway.
You're having him walk around all the time, sew you up and shit like that.
Yeah, like there's a dead fat dude who built talking flying robots. I can't give this dude.
And he didn't seem that bright in the book. It is, look how fast he gets into the outfit, man. Like you're kidding. And the utility belt's already fucking in place.
Well, it's like breakaway, like basketball players.
If it's breakaway, man. And he goes fighting the Joker. The Joker just grabs one of his fucking straps. Like, you dick. He's fighting his underwear. Batman on a horse, dude.
Everybody wins.
Yes. This is right up there with Batman fighting a shark. I don't know how many other comics I'd ever seen it in, but this is one of the first images I remember in Dark Knight Returns. I believe it's a big old splash page of Batman on top. And again, my mind may be playing tricks on me. Maybe it's a half page, but I think it's a splash page of him on a horse.
He's bigger than life.
Oh. And it takes it for a moment into Western country. I mean, it makes sense. No cars are working and shit. And so, of course, he's got to be on horseback.
But it brings it right back to Zorro.
Yes. Oh, good point, man. Holy shit.
Zorro on a horse riding the battle.
Oh, and that was in Frank Miller's version of the Dark Knight story. In Chris Nolan's version of Batman, they go see Deflator Mouse.
Right.
But in Frank Miller's version, they go see, and most comics.
Yeah, the classic was he went to go see Zorro.
They go see Zorro. And so, you know, a little bit of Zorro stuck with him after that, a little bit of the Masked Crusader. This is a wonderful moment. Batman breaking a gun. These are loud and clumsy. And fucking everyone listens. And he talks about, I'm going to teach you how to fucking throw these in the fucker's eyes. Never you mind guns. You're going to look like a badass when you whip this into somebody's fucking face.
Right. Here's the thing. Tuesday, we do batarangs. Today.
And if you think about it, pre-Frank Miller, Batman would throw a batarang. It would knock somebody on the head. It would, you know, have a rope on it or some such shit. Frank Miller, I think, was the first one that was just like, these are shuriken.
Yeah.
And they're going to embed into your fucking skin. And throughout the Dark Knight Returns, he uses it liberally. People are getting shit. Many a mutant gets fucking stabbed in the arm and shit. But from the Dark Knight Returns forward in the Batman comics, they started using those things as well. Like,
and he's Ninja Detective.
Exactly. And it's still non-lethal, but he's drawing blood. You know, like Batman's whole code is like anything shy of killing you. So I could put you through a window, and if you're losing blood and you're gonna die, that's on you.
Maiming is fine.
Yes, maiming or crippling for life.
Yeah,
and again,
that's
like
all good.
It's what you deserve if you're fucking being bad. If you're being a criminal, that's how the court system should be. Fucking break his hips, bust his leg. That'll teach him.
See, I remember we talked about this for the first one. How sort of monochromatic Gotham is as a city. Like, there are no black people in Gotham City. It is
there's the guy who's the news reporter.
there's the reporter, and that, like, maybe that dude was Arab. I don't know. But like, and so for there to be, like, part of me was like, man, could they not have just colored one of these dudes black?
We don't say colored, Mark.
You're right. But like, and then part of it is like, is this a statement on? It's like, oh yeah, white people can fuck up a city just as much as black people can.
Or is it just like in Frank Miller's world?
Right.
There's one black guy in the first one.
Yeah.
In the panels, I think we talked about it.
And he's basically like, say, Jim, that's a bad outfit. Woo!
I remember that. Chris Reeve just gives a nod. There's one moment in the book in Dark Knight Returns, I think it's part 1, where they're talking to people on the street, and they talk to a guy who's clearly African American. and he's going like, I think it's great. I think he should go after the homos next. And I looked at it the other day. I was like, does this say homos in a Batman book? And you remember, it's 1986. It was prestige format. It said for mature audiences on it.
I can do what I want.
You wouldn't even think about it, but you could never. There is not a publishing fucking comic book company in the world in this day and age that would be like, yeah, we'll let homos ride.
It's all good.
Even if it's the bad guy saying it, they would never fucking let it happen. It's kind of nuts. Thankfully they didn't throw it in here.
Yeah.
But, that is true, man. Like when I look around, I guess like I'm a white guy, so I'm like, everybody's white. But when you watch it, you're like, yeah, everybody's white.
It's like, wow.
Everyone in Gotham is white.
And basically, like, he clearly lives in Harlem. So is this like the Irish Harlem?
It's true. Like there are parts of Gotham that look like New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Even here, you've got a massive crowd shot. And it's just like, nope. Still not here.
Republican convention.
This is fantastic though.
Oh,
the
so
fucking him on a horse telling people like you could stay tied up all night or you can work on the side of justice.
Isn't that the dude Superman saved?
Yes. No, not the dude that Superman saved. The dude, that's the dude that knocked the people into the subway. And they come to him. He's a feature in the actual Dark Knight Returns. They'll come to him. He's a talking head and he'll narrate a story. He was the one that narrated the story about the Superman subway car, I believe. Like he's going, I was just, minding my own business. And then he'll show an image of him shoving like the dude into the fucking way of the train by accident or something like that. And then, and then later on, he talks about like Batman, as you just saw, fucking grabbed him off somebody and fucking hurled him and shit. And in the book, he's just like, I'm thinking of a lawsuit or something. And here in the cartoon, look at Gotham is fucking a massive fire put out with one bucket.
Yep, pretty much.
He's like that fucking walrus. He's just like, I has a bucket. Oh no, they be taking my bucket. It is, this is a necessary part of the story, of course. It shows, Commissioner Gordon living as Batman.
Right.
Just like Batman, his commitment to helping others justice. So much so that he forgot about his own beloved wife, Sarah, which if I remember correctly, this went first, right? Dark Knight Returns went first. Before year one.
Yeah.
So Sarah Essen is introduced in year one. So he kind of did a prequel to himself and showed you Commissioner Gordon meeting the woman he eventually marries, but he divorces someone else. He's married to a Barbara, not to be confused with Batgirl Barbara Gordon.
Right.
But he's married to a Barbara and she's pregnant and stuff. And so somewhere after year one, and they even mirror this in the Nolan universe where they talk about in Dark Knight Rises, they say, oh, Jim Gordon's wife left him and shit like that.
Right.
So here, he's married to Sarah Essen, but Essen gets introduced in comics history after this when Frank Miller does year one with David Mazzucchelli, which they've also done a movie for.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I've seen it and I enjoy it. And Commissioner Gordon is played by, Breaking Bad.
Cranston.
Yes, Bryan Cranston. And he's wonderful. But and I love year one, but this, it's not like that's not good and this is great, but this blows it away. I'll be honest with you. The Batman voice in year one was tough for me.
Yeah.
Too young.
It's a wee lad.
Yeah. And it's a dude who, I think he was a dude on the OC. Like his performance wasn't bad, but he just sounded a little thin and reedy for Batman. Kevin Conroy, that's a voice.
That's what you need.
Peter Weller, that's a fucking voice. I think they had, what was his name? Bruce, the actor who played Captain Pike in Star Trek.
Greenwood.
Bruce Greenwood plays Batman in one of them. I forget which one. And he sounds pretty good too. He's got the older Batman sounds good. Holy shit, dude.
The one-armed bandit.
There he I remember reading this book when I was a kid and being like, now Walter Flanagan gives me Dark Knight Returns. I had given him this report that I wrote in high school. I heard it. We'd worked together at the recreation center for 8 months. And I'm talking one day, finally I make conversation with him. He's a non-talkative dude. I said, I hear you like comic books. He's like, yeah, I read comics. And I didn't know anybody read comics. So I said, hey man, I wrote a report about Batman. in senior year, man. I'll bring it in. You can read it. He was like, all right. Not like, yeah, I'd like to read that. So I brought it in, gave it to him and shit. I was trying desperately to make fucking conversation with the guy I worked with for 8 months. He says, you got to read this, man. He comes back in and goes, you don't read. He goes, you know something about Batman, but this ain't Batman. It's more about the Batman show. He's going, you got to read this. And he brings me The Dark Knight Returns. So I read it and I come to work the next day and I love it, but I'm filled with questions. So I'm going through, I have every page marked where I had a question. And so I'm like, who's this? Who's this? Who's this? When it comes to that moment, I was like, who's this? And he's like, that's Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow. And I was like, when did he fucking lose his arm? And he goes, that didn't happen. We don't know. He's going, but that's what's cool about it in the story. He taps his arm and he goes, like, oh, look, dude, the 89 Batmobile. The Anton first Batmobile makes a cameo in Dark Knight Returns. I fucking love Jay Oliver. I love fucking, whoever's responsible for that in there. Bruce Timm, Bob, I don't know who's responsible. That's fantastic. And they also do something here that they don't clearly do in the comic, which is he's wearing a robot suit.
Right.
Because, you watch him, like in the comics, it's more about he's wearing an armored suit. But here, it's like he's essentially a cyborg. He's wearing something that's going to have enough power for him to fight Superman. So anyway, Walter Flanagan. Yeah, Suicide Bill. Only Batman. Kind of. Spoilers. So Walter goes, check this out, man. I fell in love with it. That was where I saw Green Arrow. This sequence is fantastic. Score kicks in. Dun-dun, dun-dun. They're going after him. The hunt has begun. They've shut down Crime Alley. For those that don't know, Crime Alley, of course, is where here comes the shot I'm talking about, dude. The Batmobile comes through the cordon. In the book, they leave a hole big enough to drive a tank through. I do just that. Crime Alley is where Batman's parents died. So that's why Batman chooses Crime Alley for the showdown with Superman. We're inside the Batmobile right now. I love that. Him putting on the fucking helmet and the coming out like it's airlocked onto his head. Never understood why he left his mouthpiece open because Superman could punch him right there. This is a moment straight out of the comics, except it's done from an alternate angle. It's Batman looks over his left arm in the actual comic. But here comes the moment. Batman's coming out of the fucking tank. Watch this movement. I love this so much. I'd rewind it. Bang. Watch that. Watch how fast he goes, but it's this shot. He looks like a desert bird, dude. He looks like a road runner. And that's how you imagine an older Batman would move. He's fast, but like you say, he's still got some fucking like girth to him, some weight in the steps. I love that transition where like, well, he can't hide from what's coming and boom, fucking Superman shows up. Ralph pointed out in Hollywood Babylon that said detected. But fuck it, it's still genius. This is where Batman tests Superman. This whole fucking sequence is astounding, man, and played out rather well and mapped out incredibly well.
The action is so tight. It's always been. I mean, throughout
look at that little smile. And that comes from a line in the book where he's just like, I watched the missiles kick him around for a while. I've had worse times. So instead of doing that, you cut to a little shot of Batman with just the slightest smile going like, I knew the missiles would work. Tee-hee. And then this is fucking awesome too, because bang, the Batmobile is in play. And fucking cut to that shot inside. Who's firing, man? Who's firing? And once you get inside, that's adorable, dude. And then this is a shot straight out the book where she's suddenly inverted. And then of course her with the slingshot.
Isn't tonight a school night?
They added young lady, which I thought was a good choice. In the book, it's just like, isn't it a school night? And then here he's like, isn't it a school night, young lady? The guy who does Superman is fantastic. I thought it was Tim Daly, but it's not. It's a dude who played the Human Target.
Oh, right. Mark Valley.
Yes, Mark Valley. Oh, he does such a good fucking job. I saw this come out and I forgot, man, that sonic gun. Like that's when Dark Knight Rises still started coming out and you saw that thing. How come nobody was like, oh my God, it's the Dark Knight Returns gun? I bet you Chris Nolan was waiting for people to catch it, man. I only caught it with this. This is awesome. Batman plugs into the city power supply, which is feeding his fucking suit. And he's also blasting fucking Superman's brain with electric shocks. This is the moment they give Alfred the farewell moment. It was very bittersweet. Well done with the score. He's just looking at images of his family because Alfred's story is so fucking sad as well. He had no life. He gave it up for this family who then died. And then he became the caretaker of this fucking kid. He hasn't really had to have his own.
No. This clearly made a bargain with the devil to live this long.
Yeah. Because he's very fucking, Bruce is 50. He's like 110. In the book, there's a wonderful moment where he's doing internal monologuing about like the night that he told the story of the Purloin Letter to young Bruce, and he's just like, and he was listening, and then he said, and then, when I was done with a voice that was just so cold and logical, he was like, he was punished, wasn't he? And almost demanding, he goes, but the villain was punished. And Alfred was like, and I told him yes. And he's like, and he slept like a baby. Such a beautiful part. But they did it without words. So now this moment, they're throwing words into Batman's mouth, because in the fight in the book, Batman says, Clark's talking to me. I can't hear him, blah, blah, blah. So everything's an internal monologue. So here instead, they put the words, into their mouths while they're fighting. I think his performance, man, even when Superman gets mad, he's not that mad. Yeah. Like that's a great Superman. And this is a great line where he's just like, who are they going to send after you? That's not in the fucking book. So credit for that line. I love that moment
so
where
great.
Whatever it is, he presses this button, his fist becomes super hard. He punches him right in the fucking mouth. The Batmobile looks down for the count, man. They make a meal out of everything with this, man. Little things that were like 1 or 2 panels become, like 30-second, 45-second sequences and cool shit. The Green Arrow, of course, is coming back. Oliver Queen, they don't tell you what happened. They later on did the story. Chuck Dixon did
they?
Yeah, Chuck Dixon wrote the Oliver loses his arms story, kind of. He had his hands like in a bomb, or 2 hands in this box. If he let go of it, it would have went off and shit. And so he had to keep both arms in there. And Superman's like, I got to get you off the plane. I got to say, there's only one way to do it. And he was like, no. So they tied it into Dark Knight Returns, and then the plane blew up and Oliver died.
I thought, always reading this, I thought the government took his arm.
Yeah. You mean on purpose?
Yeah.
But Superman did it, because that's why that's why he's like, I want a piece of him. I always knew it'd come down to you and the big blue schoolboy. He's like, I want just a small piece. And that's when he taps his arm and he's like, it still hurts. It still gets cold when
But I thought like they captured him, strapped him down Goldfinger style, and like lasered his arm off.
I always took it as like fucking Superman is doing the exact same thing that he's doing with Batman here, where the government was like, you have to go stop Oliver Queen. And he fucking tore his arm off and shit and left him to live instead of die. And then in the book, Oliver, why are we talking over the sequence? This fucking fight is spellbinding. Come on, man.
He just boop.
He like Batman with a high powered suit. It's smart. They didn't even in the book, like he talks about the city's power feed is supplying my suit, but they don't play up the fact that it's like, hey man, he's got something that's strong enough that's going to allow him to stand toe to toe with Superman for a while. But I love when look at this, dude. This isn't in the book either, man. He grabs fucking 2 of those things that you lay cement down with, fucking steamrollers, and just starts using them as fucking gloves. I love this sequence where he just fucking does a little chest push. Badap! And he takes his fucking hat off and shit.
He's got the arm thing, the indentation.
He looks like he stopped a subway car and shit. Bang! Lands on his fucking chest. He's like, I'm done! You piece of shit! Think about it, man. Like Superman, he used to get punched in the face and whatnot. And he's his buddy. Like, imagine when your buddy starts fighting with you and you're drunk and shit. You're like, come on, man! That's what Superman's at right now. He's at the moment of, come on, man! Batmobile racing through the city. This is where she hears the message about, she didn't know. He didn't give it a plan. He's all mysterious and shit. This is fantastic. In the book, he goes, I got a clear headshot. Should I take it? And he goes, no, not till one of them's down. And that's when they bring in, bam, Oliver, man. He's back. He's a fucking seditionist, man. This motherfucker's been going out and striking against the government. In the book, he goes, I've been busy. And they cut to a panel. He goes, they think I'm dead. But I've been busy. And they show like this news report of, American nuclear sub down, nobody dead. And it's just the impression is he's out there in the world being a badass.
One-armed bandit.
A one-armed fucking bandit. And in this sequence, man, he's like, the government sees him. They play Oliver a lot more. The race across the fucking rooftop, the sniper, he does get hit in the leg in the book, but they play it out here. Again, you've got the luxury of a movie. Look at this. He puts a fucking grenade on his chest. Bam! And that's kind of in the book. He goes, now I've gotten him mad. And this is the moment when fucking Oliver in the book, like, kind of is hanging upside down. They're going to get to it, man. But he calls them running dogs in the book, fascists. Like, it's so awesome,
He's such
man.
An old hippie.
He's just an old liberal hippie superhero. But this is straight out the book. He's hanging upside down. He's got Green Arrow is such an amazing archer that even with one arm and his fucking teeth, he's going to be able to launch the kryptonite arrow that Bruce has been synthesizing his whole fucking life, man. Oh, you're not going to kill me. Bang. And he catches it and fucking, he's ingesting it. And that's when the fucking fight turns.
Yes.
Watch him beat ass, dude. Watch him punch Superman right in his fucking face.
I got a minute.
You sellout fuck. This is in the book as well, man. There's trying to kill Oliver, but then Robin saves him at the last minute. In the book, he says, "Hi-oh, goddamn Silver." In the movie, he says, "Hi-oh, freaking Silver." Apparently, you can show Nazi nipples.
Yes, clearly.
But you can't say goddamn. Here, he's telling Clark what's going on. Clark, how he synthesizes arrow. Clark sees that his heart's going. This is one of my favorite moments where he's like, "Bruce, your heart." He kicks him in the fucking face.
Don't worry.
Watch. I have no heart. Bam! Fucking jerk. Sell out. This is cool. They didn't do that so much in the book. You didn't see inside the tank and see Oliver. The fucking movie showed me something that I didn't even know. And I've read this book twice, 3 times a year, every year since I read it for the first time in 1988. The Oliver is in the caves underneath at the end. I thought they added this for the movie.
He's there?
He's there. If you look in the last panel, you see the guy, you see his bald head and long hair, and you see the bow. I never seen that before. I love this delivery of Peter Weller being like, "But I didn't have to go easy on you. The stronger binding agent," all that shit. He's just letting him know. Like, and the line, of course, where he's just like, in all your quietest moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you. And out he goes. This is the moment I was talking about before. So Wayne Manor is exploding. All of his life's work, the family heirlooms, everything, the fucking picture of the family gone. Alfred has a stroke right here, grabs his head, and then collapses to the ground. And this overhead shot, which is kind of mirrored from the book, I thought that was him falling because they had some rocks in the upper left-hand corner. Look at it, man. Maybe I'm the only one that ever saw it that way. I always thought that was sweet. Superman going, "Don't touch him." Like, as much as like this, they used a young shot of Bruce Wayne. Party guy. As much as they were, this Bruce Wayne circa 1998. What's up? The cemetery sequence, really fucking nice. Nice addition here by Bob Goodman for dialogue and for character. And it really closes up a moment nicely between Batman and Commissioner Gordon. It's not in the book. All this is in the book. Selena Kyle going at Clark and telling him, you shouldn't be here. You did this. And blah, blah, blah. Clark looking guilty. Still has a few shiners. From
or a mouthful of gum.
Or, yeah, he's just like, people don't know I like to chew tobacco. Here she is getting up in his grill. She's like, "You took away the only man who would kiss me and fuck me. You jerk." And he's like, let it go. Let it go. Here comes the moment where Commissioner Gordon and and Clark Kent share this kind of Batman question about, like, were you a friend of his? And he goes, I'm not sure. And he goes, "Sounds about right." That was really fucking nice. When he said that moment, I absolutely cried. I was like, oh my God. Because as far as Commissioner Gordon knows, his friend is dead. The guy who he fought crime with by his side all that time, and he knew it was Bruce Wayne later. That standing still shot when Superman stops in the snow. I can't tell you how right they got it, man. That's in the book. And there's a little shovel under her dress. You can kind of see that's not even in the book. And then he's going to give the Kurt Swan fucking wink, man. Ding. Oh, he's like, "I ain't going to tell." Meanwhile, hey, buddy, how about you help me dig this fucker up?
Seriously.
I'm a little girl with a shovel.
You could do this like that.
Yeah, you could have been done.
Yoink.
I understand you're keeping quiet, but help me
take this
out.
burqa off and dig
I'm
out this old man.
fucking 15. Some giant pederast tried to choke me on a roller coaster.
I got to dig up a 400-pound man out of the ground.
He's a giant. Now, you see, like here, like I'm watching the movie going, "Oh, they put Oliver in a cave. That's cool. That's a good, nice ad." And then when I went back and looked at the book, it's the final frame in the wide shot, and you see the back of Oliver's head and his bow. So this is a new sitcom right here, man. Bruce and Ollie. Two old hippies living together, controlling all these kids. It's like two and a half dads. 2.5 men.
My 2 dads.
There's a moment missing where he tells Robin, "Sit up straight." Like that was in the book. This is where he lays out the plan. They do a little bit more in this end sequence. The score is wonderful because even though you're coming to the close, it's a score that's full of like, this is not the close. This is the beginning of something even bigger. Right. And in the book, he talks about like, we'll be here, we'll live quietly and we'll train. I have an army and blah, blah, blah. And he reiterates most of that stuff here. But what the writer does is also uses this moment to kind of sum up some shit that Like, why did he go through this adventure? And, you know, if you remember the beginning, he's race car driving and blah, blah, blah. And he says, like, I spent 10 years looking for a good death. This will be a good life. And that's not in the book. It's a rejiggering of it. And very nicely done. But what they added, which I fucking love, because I never really dug it in The Dark Knight Returns, where the last shot is them in this fucking cave. And you're like, this dude used to have money, man. What's up? That what they did was he kept all the equipment. They're setting up the new Batcave. And I loved this. I thought this was really a fantastic ad. Like, what a great idea. Like, and it's probably just builds upon what's there, but what a great way to end it. Like, oh, yeah, they'll be back. And there it was, man. Boom. The fucking Dark Knight Returns, part 2. Spellbinding. That fucking fight. I know we talked through most of it. But you watched it before, and go back and watch it again. I've never seen anything like it. Never seen anything nearly as satisfying in other medium. And not just saying like, to me, that fight's better than Rocky and fucking, Clubber Lang. I mean, that fight's definitely better than Batman and Bane in the fucking movie. Yeah. It feels like 10 minutes, maybe 6 or 8 or something in real time. But it flies. Oh, they outdid themselves. And I feel bad that this isn't getting more fucking props. Like, everybody should be talking. I hope the whole comic book community is talking about this. Like, they did the impossible. They fucking took a masterpiece and they made another masterpiece. Almost never happens. No, almost never happens. And a lot of attention was paid this year to Mr. Nolan and The Dark Knight Rises, because much more money was spent and very successful franchise, blah, blah, blah. But this is the best Batman movie that came out last year, this year, or any fucking year. I don't care. Even if Quentin was like, you know what? I'm going to do a Batman movie. Nobody's ever going to make a better Batman movie than this. The source material was brilliant, and the execution, the elevation of the source material was absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm not saying cash it in, never watch another Batman thing. No, watch everyone give it their best and do their interpretations. But myself personally, I don't think I will ever find any Batman movie, TV show, cartoon, whatever the fuck, a fucking Saturday Night Live sketch, my fucking YouTube sketch, fantasy I have, nothing will ever be as good as this in terms of taking Batman to the screen.
They should put it in theaters for like a week, like even just for a week.
Just give us a screening, dude. Like, give us pick one place, like fucking, hey man, at the ArcLight, the big theater, at the Dome, we're doing a 3-hour back-to-back. You know, we'll take out the title cards and just smash that motherfucker together. Boom. And show you the whole movie. I'd pay to see that. Closing thoughts as we roll up here on the credits.
You know, like, one of the things that I thought that I didn't think the first time I saw it was that both of these movies, as they go, kind of teach you how to watch it. You know, like, because the first time we're looking at part 1, we were both struck by the lack of the voiceover.
Something was missing for us. Not a bad way where we're like, we hate this, but it was, you know, it's jarring because you're used to something.
But by the time you work your way through it, it teaches you how to not miss it anymore.
And look, this is an important lesson for me, because I'm the tell, don't show filmmaker. You know, I've always been tagged with like, it's a movie, keep it moving. Instead, you just have everyone talk about what's going on. And that's my thing. So when you watch this, they took a very talky piece of literature and turned it into something where they stripped most of fucking 85% of that talking out and moved. They were movies, so they fucking moved. Instead of saying things, they showed you things.
Right.
From even, you know, this late in the game, man, I'm 42. I could still learn storytelling from people who are better at it than me. And these cats were better at it. They figured out a way. There's the WB shield, and we out. They figured out a way to fucking tell that story with images instead of using if I was in charge, dude, it would have had the voiceover, the internal monologues, and it probably would have been poorer for it.
Yeah.
They found a way to be like, look, as much as we all love it, we're going to reincorporate a lot of it in the dialogue, but we're going to stand there without. It's like going out. That's like putting your dick out there, man. That's a Jerry Maguire moment. That is fucking writing, you know, the things we feel or think and do not say, and then handing it to all your fucking fellow agents. And just like for Jerry Maguire, it fucking worked out for him.
It's bold, man. And I love it for it.
Closing thoughts on anything else, man?
I now desperately want to read the Superman Hunts Down the Justice League for the Government book.
Oh, who's going to write it?
I don't know.
Go back in time and get that Frank Miller to write it. Because I just reread Dark Knight Strikes Again.
Yeah.
DK2, which is a sequel to Dark Knight. I remember the first time I read it, I was, I don't know how to put it. It wasn't Dark Knight. I was very confused. I reread it recently, and some of it is cool. Some of it is kind of shows you what's coming, like when Frank got into the goddamn Batman and stuff like that. It's not nearly as coherent. You know, I think it's a good follow up, and it's coming from the guy that created the other one. So I'll follow him until the end of time. I'll give him as much room as he wants and needs. But what you just described, I would much rather that be the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns. Than what
the prequel sequel.
Okay.
You know, where Superman is the villain, basically.
Yeah, you can go backwards instead of going forwards.
Yeah. Because, you know, they sort of nod at like, well, you know, Diana went back to her people and
Hal went to the stars.
But like, why did Hal go to the stars? Like, why?
And they bring Hal back in DK2. Like he's a major figure in it as well. It's a very, I mean, I encourage, if you're a Batman fan and you've never read Dark Knight Strikes Again, go read it.
Oh yeah, God, yes.
But do not read it going, this is the sequel to Dark Knight Returns. Just go read it as like, hey, Frank Miller did another Batman miniseries. But when you try to tie it into this, it
pales.
Oh, that's when look at it on its own accord. It can stand there as hey, Frank Miller's always doing interesting shit. And I'll fucking read Frank Miller Batman over fucking the Lord himself's Batman. But that being said,
it would get a little preachy, I feel.
I'll take it. I'm fine. It's okay. We should love one another, Mark. Let it be preachy. But what I Dark Knight Strikes Again, never read it with the like, hey man, I just read Dark Knight Returns and now I'm going to read Strikes Back, or what is it? Strikes Again. Now I'm going to read that. Like, give it some time. Or if you're going to read it right after, just read it as a completely separate story. Yeah. This is a true masterpiece. It doesn't take anything away from Frank Miller to say neither he nor anyone else, I don't think, will ever create a Batman story that steps above this.
No, it's singular, and that's fine. And, you know, retire from the field with honor. You did a great job.
Fuck yes. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I call that the Spike Lee. Spike Lee made Do the Right Thing let me see. He did, She's Gotta Have It, School Days, third film.
Yeah.
By his third film, he had made a masterpiece that will stand the test of time. People will be talking about long after he's fucking dead. And he made wonderful movies after that. Malcolm X is a massive fucking achievement. Inside Man is a great fucking flick.
Yeah.
But nothing will ever fucking touch that. You know, in my own work, dude, I know I'll never outlive fucking Clerks. Like, Clerks is the high point, and everything else is, and now it's not to say it was all downhill after that, but that maybe Chasing Amy, if you could squeak it in there, or like big, bold statements, and my best period of prolificacy where I'm like, this is what I have to offer. I feel he wrote and drew Dark Knight Returns in that same place. And I'm glad he did. I will never be a person that be like, he don't do that anymore. Or when he did it again, he fucked it up. No. Because of this, like, you have entered, you are now welcome into the kingdom of heaven. You created your own key to eternity.
Yeah, you gave a thing to the world that didn't exist before.
And it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And a thing that inspires so many of us, like both in our work and just in our fucking lives in a weird way. Launched 1,000 ships. Because suddenly there were people going, oh my God, you can write Batman this way? This is a compelling way to tell a story. So my hat's off to the creator of the source material, who doesn't get a lot of shout outs in the animated version of it. Like, you know, I talked to the cats. I was like, is Frank involved?
Not so much.
So nobody knows. I don't know if he's weighed in on it yet. If I was him, I mean, you know, look, he's the author and stuff, and he knows his material inside and out. But if I wonder if I would be like, hey man, you moved things, or if I would just be like, holy shit,
right,
you found a way to do it.
Well, I mean, I remember there's some quote that gets attributed back to Raymond Chandler, wherein people would ask him, it's like, how do you feel about, you know, Hollywood ruining your books? How do you feel about the liberties that they've taken? Your books are like, what are they doing to your books? It's like, my books are fine. They're right there on the shelf. I want to visit my books. They're right over there.
Mm.
You know, like I wonder if Frank is sage enough to be like, hey, you know what?
He's like, I'm glad it's there because I made money off of it.
Yeah,
but
it's all good.
if
And
you love Dark Knight Returns, there's only one, bitch, and it's sitting on your shelf.
Even if it's horrible, it'll turn you back to reading the book.
Yeah.
And if it's great, it'll just make you love the book even more.
That's true. It was a win-win scenario for him.
Yeah. And, you know, rolling in money.
It turns out that it was a win-win scenario for us all. I don't say this lightly, man. Like, it jumped onto my top 10 list. They cracked the fucking code. Again, source material is very near and dear to my heart. That doesn't mean it was going to fucking instantly translate into one of my favorite films. The fact that they were able to do it the way they did and do it without the fucking one of the strongest muscles, man.
Yeah.
This would be a good death.
Yeah.
That earns them all fucking stripes in my book, man. That earns them all of them a cape and a cowl. The highest honor the Fat Man has ever bestowed imaginarily on anybody. Go watch it right now, man. Batman, the full title is, of course, the book title is The Dark Knight Returns. The movie title is Batman, The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. That's the one that just came out. Go get Part 1. You can find it anywhere. You can stream it. You can buy hard copies. There are extras on the Blu-ray and DVD so you can see how stuff was done and whatnot. Really informative material. But this is a watershed moment in any Bat fan's life, should be. And if it's not, then you're no fucking Bat fan. They found a way to fucking take Frank Miller's masterpiece and turn it into something we could all watch. And one doesn't preclude the other. Like, I've now watched this, as I said, 15, 16 times at this point. On the plane ride home from Colorado the other day, I reread Dark Knight Returns for all 4 books, man. And like, I wasn't like, well, I don't need to do this anymore because I can just watch this. Now, this is my go-to if like I'm sitting there for a few minutes. I got enough time to smoke, but not enough time to write or record a podcast or whatnot. I'll sit there and smoke and just watch like Tunnel of Love sequence or the Batman fight or something. I go back to the first
pick me up.
Totally make me feel better. Or I'll go back to part 1 and look at the Two-Face, the building, like the attack on the building with Batman walking the tightrope. Sequences like that, really good. Or the Batman fights with Robin saving Batman for the first time, or Batman fighting the fucking mutant gang leader. And this is a mud hole. This is an operating table. I'll just go back and watch chunks of it and stuff like that. I urge you all to do the same. First, take it in, ingest it in its full form. Then watch it a few more times and then use it as your go-to happy. Sometimes when I just want to feel better about life, Mark, I put on that little moment where he pops out of the fucking Batmobile and runs into the alley. That just makes me so happy. Somewhere to know that somewhere, even in a fictional cartoon universe, that Batman is jumping out of the Batmobile, racing into the fucking alleyway so fast that a motherfucker with military equipment is like, I've lost him. Like, that does my heart good. I want to believe that guy exists. And this one, though, I think about it more and more these days. Like, whenever I drive around downtown Los Angeles, it's like Batman would never work. Like, Batman would work in a block. Like, think of how big a city is. How does one man fucking take care of a whole city? Like, crime's happening fucking everywhere. And it's like some of these, in the comics, it's like, this week Penguin's doing something. Next week Joker's doing something. All they have to do is like, let's just all do something at once. I mean, like, you can't get uptown. The traffic is nuts.
What do you mean team up?
Yeah. It's like, why are we taking this bit by bit? Fuck doing a schedule. Let's just all get together. But you look at the city blocks, dude, like even in Los Angeles, which I don't think of as a massive city, but I was in New York fairly recently too. And I remember looking up and being like, if you were standing at the top of that building, you could not see someone getting mugged.
No.
Or hear it, or anything.
That was one of my favorite things about the Nolan movies was I think it might have even been the first trailer for Batman Begins. You see Batman on the top of a roof looking down on Gotham, and he's so small. Like the totality of his mission is just yawning out.
It's enormous. Like he'll never be done.
Yeah, like you can't one dude can't actually do
funny,
this.
Man. I've seen that shot a zillion times, and never once did I process it the way you did. I like the way you process it, where it's just like, wow. Like, God, it's never done.
Where do you start?
Yeah. You wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, okay, I'm putting on my cowl. And do I start uptown, downtown, midtown?
Just a grid that he works off of.
It's so fucking, but that's a really poetic way to look at it, man. It is. It's like that shot communicates an enormous task that will never be fucking done. It's bittersweet. Yeah. I always looked at the shot as like, Batman standing on a roof. Awesome. But really there's a message being communicated here, which is like miles to go before I sleep. This is why we bring Mark Bernardin into the Fat Cave, ladies and gentlemen. He always fucking sees it through a different prism, man, a sweet prism. He's a big Bat fan like myself. You got to get your hands on a fucking Bat project, man.
It'd be fun.
I mean, you know folks at DC, right?
I do. And, you know, it is Black History Month.
Fucking hell. I mean, did you ever hear this podcast where we talked about, like, I said, I want them to do Batman, but just the same thing, but just all black universe, like a milestone Batman. And it's Batman. And he's named Bruce Wayne and he's played by Idris Elba. How sweet would that be?
I mean, I do love me some Idris Elba.
He's fucking, why? Who do you think could play him?
No,
you're on board with that?
I'm on board with Idris Elba doing whatever the fuck Idris Elba
Yeah, it's like he
do.
could play Batman and the fucking Joker. He can play everybody. A one-man show. I'd go see that. But why not do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not just be like, hey man, we're doing just for the fuck of it, Black Batman. Would everyone be mad at that? Or would people be like, fucking A?
It's funny. Like I'm a bit of two minds on this, and a buddy of mine online, a guy named David Brothers, was talking about this. David Brothers, my brother.
Wonder what his opinion was.
But the idea being that, like, as interesting as it is for that idea, like Black Batman, Black James Bond, Black whatever, like, and to see Idris Elba be Black James Bond would be kind of amazing.
Yes.
But there's also this weird thing, like, why isn't there a new thing that he could be that isn't the old thing?
A different character?
Yeah. Like, can't we invent a black character that has that same kind of mythic heft? Like, the co-opting of the familiar is both interesting and somewhat reductive.
Right.
You know, but still, I would fucking love to see him.
Even if it was
James
like,
Bond.
it was just same fucking old story, but Bruce Wayne's family is black.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a story.
Then you get to cast Idris Elba. I'm just trying to cast Idris Elba as Batman.
I mean, it's a story that you couldn't do 20 years ago, you know, but it's a story you can do now. Like, you can do the first generation of black millionaires are dying, you know. And so, like, they're now bequeathing the trust to their children.
Right.
30 years ago, you didn't have that. You didn't have black millionaires. You didn't have like billionaires. You didn't have titans of industry. Like, but now you could.
Right.
Now there's a story way that works. You know, the idea that James Bond is not a guy, but a code name. And so every new actor playing James Bond is not actually James Bond. They adopt the mantle of James Bond.
Right.
You know, like, so yeah, why not a fucking black dude comes off the factory line as James Bond? Like, that I buy.
All right.
You
and
know?
Idris Elba could do that too because he's British.
Yeah.
He's got the voice. If I'm Warner Brothers, I'm like, fuck it, man. We'll do 3. We did 3 just recently. We're going to do another 3. Let's just fucking try it out. It makes so much fucking money, dude. People would be like, holy shit, finally. I love this. And it would just be something different. Yeah. But you're right. It's kind of like, why not create something fucking new?
You know, I mean, the one that I'd have bought even easier than that is Black Green Lantern.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there is Black Green Lantern.
But it's like, you get me Will Smith in that suit, you're going to make $400 billion.
Yeah, that would have been the right call right there.
I'm just saying.
The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 and Part 1. And go get it right now. Get your hands on it. You hear how much fun we had with it. We can continue blowing this fucking thing, but it's time for you to kick back and rewatch it. You just watched it listening to us. Now shut us off and watch it again, man. Because that's the beauty of Dark Knight Returns. You don't need no fucking voiceover. We all thought it would. We wanted it. But they showed us, you know what? This is not the Batman movie we need. It's the one we deserve, bitch. See how I flipped it?
Well done.
Thank you. I used someone else's writing to express myself. All right, man. Thanks for hanging out, kids. Mark will be back down the road. We should do Batman Year One together.
Why not?
As Mark's out here more frequently, so next time we join up, we'll watch it in advance, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll kick back and commentate on Year One. Dark Knight Returns, Part 1 and 2, available now. Go get your hands on it. Then when you're done, read Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's book. I've got it on my phone, my iPads. I've got physical copies. Get it wherever you can and read it. Watch the one, read the other, go vice versa. If you've never read the book, read it first, then go watch the movie. But don't do it in conjunction unless you've watched or read each one by themselves first. And then, you know, when you're bored one night and shit, you sit around and do what I did, which is watch the movie and then go through the book page by page to see how close. Yes. And by yourself, not even recording a podcast. And your daughter's just like, this is why you can't tuck me into bed. And I'm like, this is important.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
It's one man against the city.
I'm glad I have a kid, but I'm much more glad I have a Batman. She's like, I hate you, Dad. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Come back. to the Fat Cave next week when we'll get into some more Fat Bat Chat. Same fat time, same fat channel, smodcast.com.